Hello and welcome to Coffee on Korriban Live. And today is going to be a fun live stream because we will be giving away one of my new mustache mugs. If you haven't seen them, I'll bring them up a little bit later, but I will be giving away one of those to one of you guys. You must be present to win, and I will show you how you can enter into that in just a little bit. But first, I'm going to add two very good friends of mine to the stream. We got Master Paul of the Star Wars Guys and Matt Cave.
Hello,
and I really do mean it when I say to some of my best friends. You guys are pretty cool people in general, but I feel like we've really connected over the internet. And absolutely. I know Master Paul, I'm seeing you next week. We're meeting up.
Yep.
Yeah. But that's other than that, I've never seen you guys in person. But I don't know. It's cool, this little thing we have on YouTube. So how are you guys doing today? Starting with you, Master Paul.
I'm doing good, but real quick, I got to mention, I don't know what I just saw with that video, but that was absolutely amazing.
I'm exhausted watching that.
Yeah, that was me. That was some of the fun stuff I used to do. Padawannabe says, congrats. Thank you, man. That was me a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to take this banner off. But yeah, I used to do all kinds of parkour and acrobatics and flips and stuff. And that's just a little bit of the craziness I used to do. So,
dude, if I were you, I would send that into Echo Base TV. I think they would love that.
Yeah. I actually was thinking as a video idea of recreating some of those videos that I used to do, because I can still do some of that stuff now. But I'm going to see if 10 years later almost, if I can still do some of the same stuff. But it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. She says don't try it.
But can you do it with a lightsaber?
That's the question. And I might do that in the video. I might want to check that out.
Start reviewing some Darth Maul footage.
Yes. I don't know about the double blade, how that would work with the flips, but I will try it as long as they're collapsible.
Mm-hmm.
Matt Cave, how are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm conserving energy today.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work starting tomorrow around the Matt Cave.
Yeah, I saw you're going to be under construction. What's going on over there?
Well, my wife and I are working on different areas of the house. We're going to remodel our dining room. We're going to basically completely renovate the garage. And then down here in the cave, like you can't see it obviously because the camera's looking at me, but I'm on a horrible desk and everything's a mess. So we're going to rebuild.
Studio always looks fantastic, so much better than my little dining room table
or my grandma's spare bedroom.
But we'll get to the place eventually. I'm sure with all of our content we'll have a really good studio set up, like a dedicated room. I know you pretty much already have a dedicated room, Matt Cave. At least it appears that way. But
the illusion.
Yes, it certainly is, just like that fake R2D2 behind you, which is super cool.
What if that whole background that you have, Matt Cave, is just a green screen like what Coach used to do with his old collection?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could be faking everyone out. We wouldn't know.
Do this. You know what I'm actually thinking about doing? That space in between right there. I want to get a lightsaber and something that can change colors and mount it there.
And have it just be like permanently on, like a light,
permanently right there.
Yeah, running off batteries or something. Mm-hmm. I've always wanted to do that, like on either side of my TV. I think that'd be sick.
Yeah. You ever see that guy that recreated his TV into looking like a giant Nintendo Switch?
Yes.
Oh,
it's amazing.
It's so cool.
I was gonna say I've seen backlights that go. You mount it behind the TV and it illuminates the wall behind it. But it's color changing according to what is on the screen.
Yep.
So if the screen is red, the backlit is red. And I saw it with the duel on Mustafar between Anakin and Obi-Wan. And it was when it switched between them, it was like blue on one side and red on the other side. That would be so cool if you could manage to do that with lightsabers on the side of the screen.
Oh yeah,
I'm
It
sure
would.
there's a way. I'm sure there's a way. It's
all-
LEDs. It shouldn't
yeah.
be too
You're
hard.
programming the LED lighting, something to mimic the ambient
Yep.
lighting in what you're watching.
Yeah, and there's a little camera on the top of the TV that kind of points back to
Mhm.
read what's on the screen. It's pretty cool technology.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some really fun stuff you could do with it. First, let's give off some sips because I forgot to do that at the beginning of the show. Average, here's a sip for you.
Mhm.
I'll try and keep up.
Let's Master Paul, you were first, so here's another
I
sip
won't
for
sip
you.
for myself.
Matt Cave, here's a sip for you. Let's see, we got Aiden, here's a sip for you. Darth Mandalorian, here's a sip for you. Two Star Wars nerds, one of my favorite channels on YouTube, here's a sip for you.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Padawannabe, here's a sip for you. So I am glad you guys are all
Nice.
stopped by, and stay tuned because we will be giving away one of those mustache mugs, and we'll have a pretty interesting, I think, way to give it away as opposed to like a bot or something, but we'll get into that a little bit later. First off, let's talk about Visions, because I know I didn't want to make the whole stream about that. Everyone's done their stream about Visions so far. I've only watched like the first 5 episodes of it.
First 2.
I haven't watched all of them,
Mhm.
but so far, what are some of your guys' initial thoughts?
So I've only seen the first 2, and so far, no complaints at all. I actually, in some aspects, I liked more than I thought that I would like. For example, the first episode is the one that has that weird umbrella saber, but seeing how that thing actually works, of course, no spoilers.
Right.
I think it makes perfect sense and it works. Same with episode 2, which is the one about the band. That one, being a music person, so far is my favorite episode because the song that they play at the end is absolutely a jam, and maybe I might learn it.
Did you catch
Yeah.
who was voicing that main character?
No, I didn't. Who is it?
It was Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Really?
If you look
Interesting.
up the voice cast for the English dub, it's legit. Like
That's
they
cool.
got some
Yeah.
top people to voice this. Like George Takei's in an episode. We had Neil Patrick Harris is in the episode called Twins.
Those are some
Oh.
big names.
Interesting.
Yeah. I
And of course-
started flipping through the list. I was like, Lucy Liu was that the umbrella lightsaber girl, the Sith.
Interesting. That's kind of like the Studio Ghibli movies. Like some of those have some big names for the English dubs of those
Yeah.
that you wouldn't necessarily expect. It's pretty cool.
Right.
Um,
And of
I
course,
will- I
Tamara
will-
Morrison himself playing Boba.
Yep.
I will second you, Paul. There's nothing that I disliked so far. I'll state that right off the bat. And I think that stems from knowing that it's not canon. If this was canon, obviously there's certain things that wouldn't have fit in, canonically. But if this was canon, if there was like consequence to this, I think I would be a little less enthusiastic even after seeing the episodes.
Yep.
But I think because there's no restraints on it as far as like has to fit into the Star Wars universe, I don't really have anything negative to say about it. Now, I didn't really care for the twins episode. I know, Matt Cave, you said that you liked it, and visually it was cool. Like action-wise, it was cool. I think it was just a little too familiar to what we know. Like our duo, and it wasn't like CPO or something like that. That other droid had a different name, but it was just a little too close to. I was kind of in my mind trying to figure out like, is this Luke and Leia? Is this like alternate Anakin and Padme? Like, it was very close to being familiar, but not quite there. And I think it didn't really click for me as well as it could have.
Yeah, and I agree there. It was the closest thing we had that was touching canon Star Wars. And I think the thing I liked the most about that episode was simply the visuals, because it was stunning to watch.
Yes.
I love, even though I've never been big into like Japanese anime, but I appreciate the animation style greatly because I think it's fantastic. It's really a work of art. And the fact that we got different styles for each one of these episodes, that's what I was looking forward to the most. Especially kicking it off with a film noir style in that first episode in the duel. I was hooked immediately when it panned down and it stayed in black and white. I was like, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm ready. Just show me what you got. And the thing I really enjoyed about episodes like the second one with the band is that was clearly aimed at children that are my kids' age right now, because it totally reminded me of 90s and early 2000s Pokemon. I was like, all right, the kids are gonna love this. They're gonna watch this all the time. And not that, it's an episode like that, maybe I'll only rewatch that one a handful of times,
Mhm.
but my kids are gonna watch it a ton. I'm like, this is great, something else for them to enjoy. And that's what I think I love the most about the entire series, was that there really was something for every audience.
Yeah, and I've heard a lot of people mentioning the Ninth Jedi as their favorite episode so far that I've heard, which was fantastic. I really liked the Village Bride, and I see that mug you're sipping, by the way. But the reason I think a lot of people like the Ninth Jedi is because it's kind of like a what if scenario, but
Mhm.
it's not too outlandish. And we got TTT games in the house. Here's a sip for you. But like I said, it's like a what if scenario, but it's not too outlandish. You get the vibe that this is sometime after the Jedi Purge, so around the same time as the later episodes of the Bad Batch. Kind of, that's kind of how it feels. Maybe a little later. Let's say, I don't know, 5 to 10 years after Order 66. And little things are different, like the kyber crystals can change according to the user that is using them, as opposed to having to make them bleed, or the crystal selecting you or something like that. So it's little subtle differences, but it's almost like a parallel universe, not like a crazy wild branch off the main timeline, if you feel what I mean. So it's still within reason, but because it's not canon, it's like those little changes aren't consequential. And I thought that was really cool.
Yep. I think the idea of having a swordsmith that creates lightsabers, that fascinated me. I was like, that, because this is, I like that you put it that way, that it was like a what if. Like, that's how I feel about this. This is the closest we have now to how Marvel has a what if. This is our Star Wars what if right now.
Yes.
Right. And what you just described there of a sabersmith that makes lightsabers, keep in mind, I haven't seen this yet.
Oh, you're gonna love it.
Ooh,
I'm sure, but it kind of reminds me of the experience that Michael and I both had at Disney World this past summer at Galaxy's Edge, going through the Savi's workshop attraction and building our own lightsaber. That's sort of the story that they have set up for that attraction. That there's this character named Savi who has a workshop where you can build lightsabers, and so you go in, pick your parts, and pick your crystal, put it together, and you have a lightsaber. So that's kind of what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, it was. I don't want to spoil it. There was a really big twist toward the end of the episode, and it was shocking. It was a big twist. It was just a single moment where you're just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it was a really good twist because they set up the way that twist worked earlier in the episode. And I'm not going to spoil it at all, but it was something that's different from what we've seen in Star Wars before that contributed to that twist. And it was all of a sudden, you're just like, oh, this episode completely went the other way than I was expecting. And it was just really cool. And then the Village Bride, I really liked. Did you see Village Bride, Master Paul?
No, I've only seen the first
two.
two.
That's right. Only the first two. This one was cool because it was having to do with the remnants of the Clone Wars. And there were battle droids in this episode. There were mention of the Separatists stealing resources, and then kind of the aftermath of the war on just a regular planet with regular people. It was really cool to see just people living their lives in the Star Wars universe after that big event that was the Clone Wars. And that the world building is the biggest part of it for me. You've seen my videos, and I've talked about this extensively. That made me feel like that's a real place in the Star Wars universe. And I think that's why that was my favorite episode so far. Really cool. Plus the action was really sick in that too.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite things to see in stuff like this is just a normal place that's not involved with all the craziness that's going on with the war. like one of my favorite Clone Wars episodes. I forget the title of it, but Ahsoka goes with Padme to a separatist planet, and they're just in a place. It's all for political reasons, and they're here to discuss things. But Ahsoka is seeing for the first time that there are worlds that are just sucked into this, but they're just living their lives, and just because they were labeled separatists does not mean they're your enemy. Like it just, they're just caught up in it.
Yeah,
Ain't
and
that
that's
the
something
same-
that we also saw on the Ryloth episodes of the Bad Batch. Even though, or not the Ryloth episodes, the one who was before that, it was a separatist planet, and we got to see how they were dealing with losing the war, and you got to realize these are just people that happen to be on that side of the spectrum. It's not that they were evil, the separatists. They just had a different idea of how the galaxy should be run, and they were going with it, and they lost the war, and how do they deal with it? But yeah, it's the same thing you were talking about. Is just because they're on the other side doesn't mean they're enemies. And that's like my favorite part of the Star Wars universe, because that could be like a real thing with the different political factions and ideas that the governments should work, is what I was trying to say.
It sounds to me like if there was going to be any episode that might retroactively be made canon, that this one that you're describing could be a good candidate for it because of the world building.
Yes, it didn't really change too much, other than like maybe the way the fight went or whatever was kind of more anime than traditional Star Wars. But as far as like canon and lore and stuff, it could definitely fit right in there more than the other episodes, at least the ones I've seen so far. Quick little tidbit, I guess. We're going to get into the giveaway in a little bit. Let's see if more people can get in here than we got here right now, because I want everyone to have a chance to get these mugs. And this mug that you're seeing on your screen right now is the mustache mug that I'll be giving away. Matt Cave, I know you got yours.
I ordered one. It should be coming soon.
Awesome. I actually haven't ordered one for myself. I need to.
Awesome.
Or my wife. She wanted one too. But we got mugs up there. So yeah, if the link is in the description, if you don't win tonight and you want to order one for yourself, then you can buy a mug. But we will wait just a little bit longer to see if anyone else wants to pop in and get a chance to win their mug, because as of right now, your chances are looking pretty good. And if you guys want to share this out to anyone, that we can give everyone a chance to win the mug.
Yeah, I've already shouted it out on. I've already done it on Facebook and Twitter.
Perfect. All right. So, anything else about Visions that stood out to you guys?
I think it's something you can definitely look forward to, Paul. Even just talking about the first two episodes, that dramatic difference in style, you can look forward to that happening each step of the way. Like you're going to see something new and different every time. And one of the episodes which they featured in the trailer a bunch was that one that's very Astro Boy / Mega Man style.
The one that we didn't particularly like the look of at first.
So I'll tell you this about that. I'm not going to spoil what that one's about, but I actually enjoyed that one more than I thought I would. In fact, I'm looking forward to going back and rewatching it. I'm going to go back and rewatch the whole thing, but in Japanese. I'm gonna put the subtitles on. I watched the English dub first, so I could really just absorb what's going on. But I do want to go back and watch it with the subtitles to get the Japanese actors in there, because I've heard nothing but phenomenal things about how that plays out. So that'll be my next viewing. But I'm really curious about how they handle that one, because if you're familiar with Astro Boy and Mega Man, it's that, but meets Star Wars. Like it's cool how they mash that together. But it's again one of those episodes that you know it was aimed at kids primarily for that one, but that particular story has deeper meaning in it than you would expect. Good stuff overall.
Yeah, and you mentioned, by the way, watching it in Japanese. That's how I watched the first episode, and yeah, it sounds great.
Nice.
It's really fun. I know I mentioned the Revenge of the Sith extended edition before, with that like 4-hour supercut.
Mm.
There's a mode that you can watch that in called Kurosawa mode. And it's Revenge of the Sith extended with the Clone Wars, the last 4 episodes all edited in, the same as I was talking about before, but with it's in black and white with added film grain and audio distortion, and it's in Japanese with English subtitles, and it looks like an old samurai movie. It's really cool.
Nice.
The voice acting in that is great as well. But it even blurs the lines even more between live action and animation. And we got Lord Crit, my 500th subscriber, in the chat. Welcome. Hopefully you win yourself a mug coming up in, let's say, like 3 minutes. We'll give anyone else that wants to bring themselves in another chance. But in about 3 minutes, we will be giving away the mustache mug. Here's just it for you. But yeah, that Kurosawa mode is pretty sick. Average, we got average back. Nice. And we'll be giving away the mustache mug in, again, like 3 minutes. And then we'll get to that. And again, this is what it looks like. And apparently it's pretty cool.
Multiple colors, dishwasher safe.
Yes. You could be my salesman. We got,
and just look at that clean logo design. That is amazing.
It is slick. And it functions exactly as you would expect it. See, check this out. It's perfect.
Yes.
That's awesome.
I've also heard this mug has magical mustache powers, where the more you drink from it, the more likely you are to grow a better mustache.
This is true. I've already felt the force far more strong in my mustache. It started growing dramatically.
I need it.
Get in there. This mug will bring you great stash.
See, now I've got a confession to make. These mugs were made, and I had a hand in the making process. They were imbued with a miniature force nexus at the bottom of each mug, and I think that's why it helps with the mustache growth. I could be wrong. I'm not no Jediologist, but I think there's a force nexus at the bottom of the mug.
Well, it says it was made in Ilum.
Yeah, see, there you go. Exactly.
So yeah,
the handles are made of kyber.
What other reason do you guys need?
All right, so we're going to get into the giveaway, and here's how we're going to do this. I want everyone that is in the chat, everyone that is watching, you're going to have to guess the number that's in my head. It's between 1 and 100. And here's how this is going to work. It's not going to be whoever is the closest. It's whoever gets the number exact. So you can comment multiple numbers. Just go ahead and spam the chat with your number guesses. And Matt Cave and Paul, if you guys want to get in on this too, it's just whoever gets the number first. Whoever puts it up in the chat first, the number that I have in my head, wins the mug. And again, you can put multiple comments. Just keep typing numbers until I see it, and then I'll call it. Ready?
Man.
Is everyone in the chat ready? It's between 1 and 100. It is between 1 and 100. Okay. Ready? Everyone in the chat, go. It is T-Lenko says the number for what? It is the number 1 through 100. First to get it exactly on the nose.
Oh my God.
Wins.
Do you see what TT Games is doing?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, it could be 99, and he could have a long ways to go.
Had to.
Ooh, we got some that might or might not be close. Seeing them roll in. This might take a little while.
Nightbot would be losing its mind right now.
And again, if you guys are just joining, if anyone is just joining, comment 1 through 100. The first number to get it exactly wins the mustache mug. And you can keep spamming the chat. It's probably the only time you can do this on YouTube.
And of course, while you're doing this, if you haven't already, make sure to like this stream. We are at 6 likes right now.
Yeah.
Oh, I refreshed. We're at 10.
Well, there you go.
Oh man,
I'm not seeing it so far.
Really? Oh boy,
Not seeing it so far. I mean, there's 100 numbers that it could be.
this is
Haven't
true.
seen it so far. One of them was one number off.
Whoa. I thought for sure the first number that went in there got it.
Yeah, execute order 66. I can't make it that easy. Oh, it's looks like it's between TTT Games and Lord Crit. Someone's gonna get it.
They're gonna battle it out.
Oh yeah. I put all 100 numbers in.
What?
Well, I didn't see it pop up. It's based on what I see. First one I see. This is interesting. They're probably all just stressing like,
What could
you
it be?
tube me.
Big chungus, Lord Crit says.
My chat shows them
My chat
all.
shows them all. This is kind of fun. Again, if you just joined, comment 1 through 100. First person to get the number exactly correct wins the mustache mug. I have not seen it yet. I have not seen it yet.
It's not letting me type fast.
Okay, you know what? You know what? The chat on YouTube is going way faster than. Oh, I see it.
Oh boy.
I see
What
it.
was it?
I see it. Hold on. Let me see if I can bring it up. See on. Oh my gosh! On StreamYard, it can't even keep up. There it is. 63 was the number I had in my head.
63
TTT
wins.
Games.
Congrats.
So
Congratulations.
you win the mustache mug. And I know you, so give me your info and you will get a mustache mug whenever it ships out. Thank you everyone else for commenting all those numbers. I should have probably been watching the YouTube chat because
Hi.
I've been
that was
invaded.
going psycho.
Hey.
I just got back from a high school football game. I'm hyped.
Of course you
Nice.
did. That was Jonathan,
right.
by the way, if anyone didn't know.
I
That
saw
my
like
youngest
I saw him like looking down from behind the camera before.
Right.
Fake news rigged. So yeah, TTT Games, congrats on the mustache mug giveaway. I will be doing another giveaway. Let me remove this real quick. I will be doing another giveaway. I think, you know what, might as well do it at 600 subs. We're really close.
There you
But I
go.
might as well do another giveaway at 600 subs because we're almost there. And who doesn't want a mustache mug? But TTT Games, congrats on winning your Coffee on Korriban mustache mug. And I hope you enjoy that when it gets to you.
Love it.
Yes, Lord Crit was off by 1. He actually, that I saw, typed 62 twice. He was so close. And again, I probably should have been watching the chat. What? Lived below you for 21 years. That's not true at all. That's not true. That's not true at all. All right. Well, let's continue in this discussion. I guess have we talked through Visions all the way? Because I haven't seen all the episodes. Master Paul, I know you've only seen 2. Everyone else is
still
kind
have
of
to
talked it
watch
to death.
the last one. I have to finish it. I was starting to pass out as I was getting, so I got to rewatch from the beginning of the last one. But other than that, I've seen the whole thing. I'm very happy with what we got, and I hope they do another round of it. I would love to see not only more original stories, but to a couple of these, I would love to get a sequel episode.
Yeah. I could see
Mhm.
them doing that if this is successful enough. Maybe this is like an experiment that they're doing to
Mhm.
where next go around, whatever Star Wars Visions type Star Wars anime that we get actually is canon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and here's something that I was thinking about just a few minutes ago. What if this was kind of like a trial run, which I'm sure it was in some sense, of anime and Star Wars and seeing if the people would like it, how they would react to it in general. And what if they see, what the fans are liking as far as what episodes? So like, oh, Ninth Jedi, that works. Oh, Village Bride, that works. Whatever ones that people like. And maybe they'll give those studios either, like a mini series or like a follow-up to their episode that they had in this Visions. Maybe that studio would get the chance to make more Star Wars content in the future because, they did something that the Star Wars fans in general liked. What are your thoughts on that being a possibility?
I could absolutely see that be the case. In fact, honestly, I hope that's the case because that just means we get more good Star Wars content.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, that first character that we meet in the duel, I want to know his story. What's going on with him? Where is he from? What's the deal with when he pulled out that lightsaber and that Sith saw what he was wielding, I mean, she was like, "You traitor, you coward." Like, what, she was so confused as to why he was doing what he was doing. And then just walks off, almost like Bill Bixby style Incredible Hulk, just walking off into the distance, and you're left with just wanting more. And they hit the mark on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I my wife didn't really care for the black and white. And it's a style thing. It's a personal preference style thing. She just thought it got old after a little bit. I really liked it. I thought it was cool. Just the few select colors, like the blue on the astromech droid or the red and the lightsabers. A couple little colors kind of set it apart. And for me, I didn't really notice the black and white after a little while. It was just kind of the style, and after I was into it, it didn't bother me or whatever. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's how it was with Sin City. You ever see that movie? Oh, that's a great flick. I mean, it's black and white, but like if there's blood, it's red, and if there's like gunfire, you see the flash of the spark. Like it's just that stylized. The movie's brutal, by the way, but the style is unbelievable. The cast is great, and whenever I see something where they incorporate just a minor amount of color on the black and white, the first thing that comes to mind is Sin City.
Right. That's
okay.
See, I
sense.
wish more filmmakers would experiment with stuff like that. Because did either of you guys see Tenet?
I haven't. I want to see it.
Okay, we should have a watch party.
Ooh, yeah.
That's okay. With subtitles on. Make sure you have subtitles on. But one thing that they did in that movie was, and it was Tenet that did this, I'm pretty sure, where certain scenes, the aspect ratio would change. Like the screen would come in top and bottom, you get a wider view. And then in other scenes, it would open back up to more of like a full screen picture, depending on what was shown in the scene. And you don't even notice it at all. But it makes a big difference. And subtle stuff like that. And the sound design in that movie is incredible because certain sound effects are backwards in certain scenes. The orchestra is backwards depending on stuff in the movie. But I think filmmakers should experiment with that sort of stuff more. Audio levels or color schemes or whatever. Matrix did this very well, the original Matrix, because in the Matrix, everything is that green tint. And when they're out, it goes to more of a regular, color palette.
Right.
And it's just something I wish more filmmakers would experiment with, is subtle, immersive things that you don't notice right off the bat, but they make a big difference.
Yep.
Let's see. We got Star Wars theology in the house.
Hey.
Here's a sip for you.
I think specifically that is Felix.
It is. May the Force be with you.
That's Felix made a channel?
Yep.
Yes.
Yay! That's awesome, dude. Yeah, like you're saying, with the experimenting with styles like that, I love things like that. That happened in The Dark Knight, and it expands everything for the hell. It almost kind of brings part of that IMAX experience home. The second Michael Bay Transformers movie did that as well, and like you said, you're so in it, you don't even realize it's happening. You're just getting more immersed into the world.
Yeah. And I think score is probably the best example of that, movie score, because the best movie scores you don't notice. They just add
Yeah.
so much to the movie because, I mean, think of Duel of the Fates, how epic that score is. It's one of the most epic film scores of all time. But
Yep.
when you're watching it, when you're actually watching to enjoy the movie, you don't hear Duel of the Fates. You just see the lightsaber duel, unless you catch yourself thinking about it, and then you're like, "Oh, Duel, this is the best song ever." But the best
Yeah.
scores you don't notice; they just add to the experience. That's the whole point. You shouldn't notice those things; they shouldn't stand out. And
Exactly.
I think film score is probably the best example of something like that.
Yeah. A score in a film is practically a character in itself. And I remember seeing Phantom Menace for the first time in theaters. And we get to that moment after those doors open. We reveal Darth Maul to Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. And then the fight begins. And you got that Duel of Fates theme kicking in. I was so in that moment just because I couldn't believe what I was seeing, because I was finally seeing what I had always dreamed about seeing in Star Wars, of seeing this crazy lightsaber battle. And it blew me away. And then after the fact, appreciating the soundtrack that went along with it and just loving that. I love that whole Phantom Menace soundtrack. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, and I think Christopher Nolan is really good at that sort of stuff, because Interstellar was the same way. There was specifically the scene where he's rotating the ship to match the station so they can connect, and the music, especially watching in IMAX, was incredibly loud. Like way too loud, but that's the point. And as I was watching it, I realized, like, this score is so loud, but I haven't even heard it this whole time. It's just adding to the intensity of the scene. And then of course with, Dark Knight and all the other Nolan films, it's the exact same way.
Or here's another example from Episode 3, Battle of the Heroes, while Anakin and Obi-Wan are fighting each other.
Yeah, and honestly, I can't even remember specifically what that part of the score sounds like, because I'm just so wrapped up in the movie at that part of the duel.
Right.
Which is the point.
Yeah. And that song even then merges into Duel of the Fates.
It does.
Yeah.
And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, when the soundtrack is lacking, that you do notice.
Yes.
So forgive
me
for
even if you don't notice it, there's something missing. It doesn't click together.
So forgive me for bringing up the sequel trilogy, but in Episode 9, when Rey is fighting Kylo Ren on the wreckage of the Death Star, there's almost no music, when, at least to me, I think there should have been. But all you hear is the waves crashing in Finn for the 1,000,001st time, saying, "Way!"
Oh, God.
Yeah, and Star Wars Theology pulls up a good point right here. Duel of the Fates is organic to the duel, and that's something that in that battle you just mentioned on the Death Star, it wasn't organic. It was music laid over top of it, if there was music. And again, I don't recall super well anything about the sequel trilogy. I know, I think Matt K, was it you and I that were deciding to watch them again?
Yeah.
Torture ourselves.
I'm just about there. I think it'll be a good thing.
Yeah. Phantom Menace
I'll
soundtrack
rewatch them with you if you guys need a third person. I got you.
We wouldn't have to pull you into that, but I mean, if you want to die with us,
I will voluntarily do it.
It was a mistake.
I agree with Star Wars Theology that the Phantom Menace soundtrack really did change the music for the saga overall. It amped it up to a new level that I feel like it had to at that point. Like because they made John Williams is a freaking genius. He took what we already knew and built on that to make brand new themes, but then every once in a while, in subtle ways, threw in something that we were familiar with, and it just blended in. Yep. And to give you just a little flashback I'm having of when Phantom Menace came out. So back in my day, we had a show on MTV called Total Request Live. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but it was huge.
Nope.
And every day, it was the top requested music videos that day. And they would play them, and whatever's voted the most plays out throughout the day. And just, you could end up hearing the same thing throughout the day. But on the day of release of Phantom Menace, a music video of Duel of the Fates was released. And when I tell you that every Star Wars fan called into Total Request Live, we did. And all day long on MTV, Duel of the Fates played. Almost nonstop.
Nice.
Like, Star Wars took over MTV that day. And it was amazing.
And that just goes to show the power of Star Wars and the dedication of its fans. The fact that we could take over an entire TV channel like that.
Yep. So every time they were like, and the next music video up, it's Star Wars again. And then it would play again. It was just, it was amazing. Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
I wish I was a legitimate Star Wars fan, and I wish I was old enough at the time to enjoy the prequels as they came out. Because I wasn't. I remember like some of my friends having birthday parties with Revenge of the Sith plates and napkins and stuff, but I wasn't really into movies at the time to be able to watch it. I wasn't old enough, but I really wish that I was able to watch that for the first time, kind of knowing what's going on. And the good news is, I get to do that with my daughter. My daughters, when they're old enough, and watch Star Wars for the first time through their eyes and be able to kind of understand what that's like. And I think I talked with my wife about this the other day, in letting her watch 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, and then Clone Wars, and then 3. And I imagine Order 66 is probably going to be devastating. But I feel like, for someone who hasn't gone through that yet, going through in that order, and I've seen a few YouTube channels that, first time watching or whatever, and they do it that order, then they get to episode 3, and I see the impact that it has on them, especially Order 66, because these are people that we've grown to know over the last how many hours, 50 hours of watching, however long the Clone Wars is, or something like that. But to be able to see that vicariously through my daughter's eyes will be really cool. I'm looking forward to that in the future.
Dude, I
Definitely.
can tell you from firsthand experience, it's priceless. And I'll tell you what was most fascinating for me was seeing what they took away from it, and seeing what my kids felt that the story was. Even my daughter, as young as she is, she's 4 now, and loves Star Wars. She quotes it. She plays lightsaber battles with her brother, and just, it's awesome. But I mean, and I've said this before, one of my proudest father moments was when my daughter walked up to my wife just out of nowhere, holding a lightsaber. She's like, "Mommy, I am a Jedi, like my father before me."
That's so cool.
And I almost cried.
Love that. Love
like,
it.
It's the most
That's
amazing
so
thing. Yeah.
Hey guys, real quick, I'm sorry to do this, but I gotta cut my portion of this short because my brother's here and he needs to sleep and he needs this room to sleep. So I gotta get off, okay?
Certainly. All right. You have a good night, Master Paul. I will
Good night,
see
Paul.
you Wednesday. Before you leave, real quick,
Yes.
I am meeting up with Paul of the Star Wars guys this Wednesday, and we will be filming Coffee on Korriban and probably some other things. So if any of you guys have any video suggestions, things that you would like us to discuss while we're meeting in person, then comment those in the chat below, and we will see if we can make a video out of it.
Yes. And I will be even though I won't be on the panel, I'll still be lurking in the chat, so I'll see them too. So you guys have a good night, and just remember, of course, the Force is family.
Absolutely.
Good to see you, buddy.
I love that slogan. Every time he says that.
Yeah.
I love that slogan. All right. And if you did not see the banner at the bottom, 15 likes and another mug finds a home. I do kind of feel a little bit bad because I was reading the StreamYard chat, which was way slower. I swapped over to the YouTube chat halfway through and it was just flying by. So I know I missed it. And, the whole it's rigged thing with my brother being the one that won the mug. So if we hit 15 likes, then another mug finds a home. I don't know where we're at right now.
14 from what I can tell.
All right, we are very close. And another welcome to Golgo 13's Anime 101.
Golgo.
If you're into anime or want to learn about anime, definitely check out his channel. He's been killing it with his content. And it's really impressive to see a bunch of channels that are relatively new that kick their content quality up to a really high level. And obviously there's stuff that we all want to improve upon still, but there's a few channels that specifically come to mind. Yours is one of them, especially with that Hoth video of yours. That was expertly done.
Oh, thank you.
Golgo 13's Anime 101 is another one that comes to mind. But there's a lot of channels I'm really proud of that the subscriber count doesn't reflect the quality of the content coming out or the effort that goes into making that content. So from me, at least, I appreciate that to both of you guys. And if you guys are not subscribed to Golgo 13's Anime 101, please do that. And I am going to make Golgo 13 a mod, so you can go ahead and put your own link to your channel in the description if you're able to do that. And everyone go subscribe to Golgo 13.
Yeah, he's got a great channel going on over there. And I'm learning so much from him about anime.
Yeah.
Like, I really knew I was going into it fresh. So I was like, you know what? If I'm going to learn this, let me learn it from somebody I trust with it, you know? It was good stuff.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He's driving right now. If someone is able to put Golgo's link in the description. Green Lantern says there is 15. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and have to give away this mug.
I'll grab his link.
All right. Yeah, you throw that in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to give another away, use that link. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely be watching the YouTube chat. And we'll make it 1 through 50. Make it go by a little quicker. Although that was fun kind of seeing everyone scramble. Yeah. Star Wars Theology, thank you very much for ordering the mug. I hope you enjoy it. Use a wheel. A wheel for putting in all the names, and I can't put in all the names. See, this is why it would be nice to have a bot.
Yeah.
It would be
I think
nice
I was looking at in Streamlabs OBS, there was a widget that says it's a wheel. I haven't tried it yet. I'm going to test it out because I was thinking about how I want to handle when I hit certain goals and stuff. Like Nightbot seemed to do a pretty good job when I did my 100 subscriber episode. It played nice with StreamYard. It caught everybody's name in chat. But I'm just wondering if there was some, maybe like a fun way to do it. Like I thought this was cool. Like just guess the number I'm thinking of. The chat went wild and going with it. I was like, that's cool. Gets everybody interactive.
That was pretty fun. Something Green Lantern said is, I know it's not Star Wars related, but what about making a video on your thoughts on the extended edition of The Lord of the Rings? I know a lot of people really live or die by the extended edition. If it's not extended, they don't want to watch it. So I know a few people like that. My brother-in-law specifically. I have not personally seen all of the extended edition Lord of the Rings to my knowledge. I might have I've seen scenes and stuff, but not like as a watching experience all the way through. So I definitely have to do that. But that's something we can talk about. Definitely. It's Lord of the Rings is kind of another fandom that I want to get into. I want to learn more about because the lore is really extensive. Especially if you get into what's the stone called? The other book, the super long one. There's the book that's really long. Someone help me out in the chat. It's the Silmarillion.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you were saying something other than the Lord of the Rings universe. Yes.
No. It's in Middle Earth, or whatever the whole fandom is called. But there's so much more. Yeah, Star Wars.
There is so much to that lore. I mean, it's unbelievable how much there is. I mean, even just sticking to the main stories between The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, there's a ton there. And the movies, I love the movies, especially the extended editions. But I've read the books many times over the years. It's one of those sets of books that I come back to every few years and
Yeah.
reread them. And it's funny rereading them now after seeing the movies, because the visual in my head isn't what it used to be. Now I'm
Right.
seeing the characters that were on film as I read the book.
And I did read through The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings
Mhm.
so long ago. I probably finished all of the books when I was like 12 or 13. So I was really young. So I enjoyed it. I got a lot out of it, but I didn't really soak up as much as I wish I should have, or as I wish I could have, because I was so young. And then growing up watching the movies, I really want to go back and read the books. If I ever really have time to do that, there's a lot of Star Wars books that are on my reading list first. But I definitely want to go back, like you were saying. And now that I have a visual idea of what the characters look like or should look like, to be able to go back and kind of piece that again together and really enjoy the books with more of a visual aspect to it. I don't know if you saw TTT Games said, Matt Cave, let me know if you need any help with Streamlabs. I used to stream a ton with it.
Nice. I'll definitely hit you up about stuff. Yeah, I'm getting better with it, but I'm still learning as I go. And Green Lantern, I agree with you. They didn't have Tom Bombadil in there in the films. But that's the thing, like when you're transitioning works like that are novels and you're going into a new medium, there's things you have to change because certain things don't translate over into the new medium. So they could have done that storyline, but I also don't blame them for skipping it, because to tell the story they were telling, they didn't need to have that there.
Yeah, there was a gravity to the movies that I think might have been lost if they added Tom Bombadil, because Tom Bombadil, from what I understand and what I can remember, adds a little bit of levity and kind of mystery and fantasy to the story that wasn't really as present in the movies, the Peter Jackson movies. And I think that kind of would have detracted from the story that he wanted to tell. And so I'm sure some diehard Lord of the Rings fan would argue that it would have been better if they put it in. But as a casual viewer and appreciator of the lore, I think that was a good cut. And I know there's a lot of stuff they had to cut. I think that was something that they didn't really need to put in. And I'm really happy with the Lord of the Rings that we got. I can't really think of any time I've heard anyone that really didn't like the movies specifically.
I think
couple complaints, but in general, people really appreciate it.
Yeah, you don't really hear, I guess, I don't know, not that it would be that extreme, but hate for that franchise, I guess, like the way we hear for Star Wars and other things like that. It's different, like I feel like Lord of the Rings fans, they understand that Peter Jackson and everyone involved with making those films were themselves diehard fans of it, and their intent was to do right by this. I mean, there's things they changed in the film where characters said other characters' lines. I mean, we got more Arwen in the film than we do in the book, but it was great. It played out very well, and it made a beautiful story. And I think that's where some fandoms, I think, need to really remember that you don't have to draw this hard line in the sand with everything. Like, understand that if the source material is being respected, but in order for it to play out here, it's gotta flow differently. I think Lord of the Rings fans had more patience for that than fandoms like Star Wars or Star Trek. I'm a diehard Star Wars fan and have been pretty much my entire life. And there's plenty of things where I've lost my mind about it or whatever. Like I just kind of like, why is this happening? It's like, I don't give it that moment. I'll react first before thinking. But when Lord of the Rings was coming out, I couldn't believe it when the movie was announced. I remember sitting in my old bedroom and happened to turn on the TV and turned on HBO. And all of a sudden, it was whatever I was waiting to watch. You know how, like, in between, they'll just play some stuff of upcoming things, whatever. It was all of a sudden, here's a first look at Lord of the Rings, the movie. I was like, what? No way. And it was just a panning shot of seeing orcs run across a field. And I lost my mind.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god. And this was years before the movie finally came out.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I mean, there was so much they could have put it. Those movies could have easily been like 6 hours each.
Yes.
You know,
Yep.
It's insane.
Yeah. And I think one of the reasons why that movie works so well with the fans and why no one hates it, people have their complaints, but in general, as far as I've heard, people really appreciate it, and they appreciate the attempt that Peter Jackson did on bringing that to the movie format, is because it was faithful. It was faithful in the tone and the gravity that the books had, and that the story of Middle Earth had. It was faithful, and it respected that, which is why people like The Mandalorian, because they feel like it respects what came before it. The Clone Wars, it respects what came before it. In everything we like about the Star Wars. Real quick, let me see if I can get Green Lantern's stuff in here.
I'm sorry, I missed that. I can probably grab it as well.
I'm subscribed to so many people.
I have, this list is like insane, but now I'm missing him again. I've subbed to him multiple times.
Yeah, YouTube's been doing that, is unsubscribing people.
I don't know why it does that. I'm scanning through my list here, and I'm already noticing.
Oh, Goggles
missing.
and Gadgets. That's why. I was searching for Green Lantern.
Yeah, I don't have it here. I'm gonna have to resub. And imagine, because it was the opposite with Star Wars. Star Wars was transitioned into novels from film.
Yes, you're exactly right.
So a very different experience. But imagine what would the Star Wars fandom be like if Star Wars had begun as novels, and then we get the original trilogy in book form, and then we get George Lucas's films. What would our fandom be like now? Like, where would we be as sensitive about it? And would we be as passionate and defensive about it?
Would we even have liked the original trilogy as much as we did, because the books would have come first?
Yep.
And there's stuff in that original Star Wars book, the one that Coach did the reading of, that I still have to do my reading of, that is different from the movies. As far as I remember, the stormtroopers were like a shiny chrome. Darth Vader comes in, lightsaber blazing, Leia spits on him, and the metal on his chest piece, the spit lands on it and sizzles because it's still hot from battle. R2D2 is described different. Like, there's these different changes. So that is a really good question. What if the books came first and were released first, and then they adapted them into the movies? Would we even have the really deep appreciation and respect and admiration for the original trilogy? Or would it be like, oh yeah, that was a pretty good representation? It's a very interesting thing to think about.
It really is. It's so important where a franchise starts, where a story begins, in what form. Because even think about the same idea from everything that started in comic books and being transitioned into either an animated series or a movie or whatever it may be. That's another type of franchise where fans are really nitpicking every little thing. It's like, it's actually amazing that, and almost a miracle, that the Marvel MCU is successful, because you took one of the biggest elements from comic books and moved it into this new medium and went all out. And there's tons of stuff they changed in that, but overall people accepted it because it was done well. But yeah, Star Wars, when you read the novel version, a lot of the descriptions when you're hearing from characters were based around those Ralph McQuarrie paintings and those original designs, which things were changed by the time it made it to film.
And if you recall, at the end of Bad Batch, the first generation TK troopers, the first generation stormtroopers, that was directly Ralph McQuarrie's design for the original stormtroopers, which is so cool because, again, there was the respect for what came before. And I think that's so important. And then bouncing back to Lord of the Rings, something I thought of earlier, that's probably the reason why I don't really appreciate the Hobbit movies as much. And I know a lot of people feel that way. Some people really like them and they don't care. And cheap CGI aside, it's a wonder that the original Lord of the Rings Peter Jackson movies look better CGI than than the new Hobbit movies. It's weird. There's a whole science behind why, but I think because the Hobbit movies, they didn't have the same seriousness, the same gravity.
Just looking at two Star Wars nerds going.
Glorious facial hair and the smooth wisdom. Yeah, I wish I had that beard. I wish I did. And the salt and pepper is just perfect. It's just so good.
Oh yeah. The lighting and the cameras, it's making it look better than it is.
I'm sure it's fantastic. Well, when I come for barbecue randomly unannounced, I will see it for myself.
Oh yeah. I love the barbecue. Any opportunity or excuse to do it. Speaking of that, I know we're off topic a little bit, and we'll jump right back to Lord of the Rings in just a second. But I still don't have it set up, but my wife bought me a smoker, and I can't wait to get this thing set up, and even as we head into the colder weather, to get this thing set and maybe just have like a rack of ribs or some brisket cooking in there for like 13 hours. And then, oh, dude, I can't wait. There's going to be so much food. I eat like a hobbit.
Yeah, we will probably just show up randomly. Me and the girls just, hey, man, we're coming to eat. Accommodate us. We demand it.
It would happen. I'm not even gonna lie. You'd be welcomed in, and my daughter would tell you so many stories, nonstop.
Cool. Well, I'm sure your family's awesome. Between you and what I know about you online, and they're gonna pew us.
I love that. So many people quote that.
That's fantastic. And you saw the video I uploaded earlier.
God, I watched that earlier. That was adorable.
Yeah.
I showed that to my wife. I was like, "Come watch this." Go fast, Daddy.
She's so funny. Yeah, the tires chirping.
Yeah, it's like wee.
Yeah, she loves it. She loves it. Go faster, Daddy. I'm in the parking lot, sweetie. I can't right now.
So, on this topic, I'll tell you. I wonder if you ever saw this video. This is an old video from I don't even know how many years ago. But a video was posted on YouTube that when I saw this video, that was the moment it solidified in my mind that I wanted to have a daughter. And the video is titled Star Wars According to a 3-Year-Old. And it's this little girl explaining Star Wars for like 3 or 4 minutes. And when I watched this, I was like, that would be my daughter. It was so funny.
Yeah, I really wanted a son before we had our first daughter, but I'm so glad we have girls. I love it. It's so fun. I just love it. Anyway, we're gonna get into the mustache mug giveaway real quick. And if you guys, what's that sound? Oh, I missed a call on Discord. That's what that sound was. It was a sound I could hear. So here is the mug that we will be giving away in just a minute. You can choose your color. Any one of those colors, black, white, or gray. It is 11 ounces. And It is dishwasher safe and microwave safe, and it's made of ceramic. So if anyone wants to get themselves a Coffee on Korriban mug, I will tell you what you need to do. Just like before, you're going to have to comment a number between 1 and 100. The first person to get it exactly correct wins the mustache mug. First comment I see that gets the number exactly correct. Don't start yet. And you can comment multiple times. So don't feel like you only have one guess. Just keep spamming the chat until I see the correct number. Ready, set, go.
And we're off to the races.
Comment a number 1 through 100. First person to get it correct wins the mustache mug.
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing some numbers pour in.
I see more faces. We got Leia Rose, Paul's here, Darth Arlena, Golga. Oh boy.
And I am watching the YouTube chat, so they are indeed pouring in way faster than StreamYard could keep up. Hail,
Yes.
Alan Copeland. Here's a sip for you.
Alan! My first wrench.
Oh, there's a couple that are close. There's a couple that are close.
Oh boy.
Tony, welcome to the chat. There was a sip for you. Oh man, they're coming in.
It's flying in, buddy.
Haven't seen it yet. Oh man, that's going fast. Still have not got it yet. Again, if you are just joining, comment a number 1 through 100. You can comment as many times as you want. The first correct number that I see will win the mustache mug.
Tony Vaccarella, welcome.
Man, this is intense. And I see the correct number. Someone has won the mustache mug. Let me see if I can find it. There it is,
And
74.
the winner is...
And just to prove to you guys, let me see if I can pull up. I have brought on a random number generator. If I can find it. There it is. The number was 74.
74.
So, Master Paul of the Star Wars guys, you won yourself a mustache mug. Congratulations, and thank you for everyone that participated in the giveaway. This was a whole lot of fun. This is a fun way to do it.
I like this. That's cool, man.
It's just everyone spams the chat, and the first one I see
makes the chat
That's
explode.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. So, Master Paul, go ahead and give me your info on Discord and what color you would like. And you won yourself a mustache mug.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
There were so many other names that I saw in here.
I just saw a whole bunch of other people. So welcome everyone.
Everyone else, welcome to the chat. Here's a big sip for all of you.
Spam goes great with green eggs.
All right. So anyway, I am going to get in another guest. Just give me just a minute.
Go for it.
We're going to bring in one more guest who has some words to say about a certain subject. Anything else on the topic of Lord of the Rings or film adaptations that you wanted to touch on?
What I was going to say about the Hobbit films was I'm on the side of I didn't like that they stretched it into a trilogy. That could have easily been 2 films at most, but they probably could have done it in 1.
Yeah, I agree. And we got our next guest here, Golgo 13 from
Gentlemen.
Golgo 13's Anime 101. Welcome to the show.
Hello there.
Thank you so very much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, very welcome. Your voice sounds fantastic as always. And
well, thank you.
Yeah, you're doing great.
It's funny, you know, I spend $150, $200 on a microphone, and it's problematic. People say I sound good. I buy this little $50 mic, and boom, everything just goes better.
Yeah, sometimes the cheaper stuff has, just that magic stroke of luck that it can work perfect for what you're looking for. This mic right here, I'm not gonna say it sounds great or it's the best quality, but I paid $10 for it, and I'm happy with it for now. You know,
Yeah,
Sounds
can't
good,
argue
man.
with $10. That's
Yeah.
it's a decent sounding mic for $10.
Yeah, and I definitely want to upgrade. I'm gonna get the Shure MV7, the same one that Coach uses, and that one's like 250. So I definitely want to get that in the future. But
You got to have a place to set it up and put it on an arm,
yeah.
and
Yeah,
that's
that's why I like this one, because it's got this little built-in stand, this little built-in tripod, and it just sits on the desk in front of me. It's very simple. I don't have to mess with an arm or XLRs or an audio interface or anything. And
Yep. Simpler the better sometimes.
yeah, Crit, you came a little late.
Yeah, just missed it. You know what sold me on my microphone?
Mm.
It lights
The
up
color.
That's a HyperX, isn't it?
red. Yes, it is.
All right.
I like it.
I started doing a crap ton of research after my J Lab or whatever it was started being temperamental. And it's so bad. If I touched it wrong, the computer would say, "Hey, I have no idea what this is," and stop working. But if I plug it into a USB hub and then into the computer, it behaves perfectly. But the sound of it, I just don't care for. But this little Razer microphone, little Siren Mini, it's very impressive. For $40-$50, it's hard to go wrong with it.
Well, it sounds fantastic. There's nothing coming from your side that indicates low quality or low price, so it's working great. And
Well,
another reason I love this microphone is you guys have seen in my edited videos. If you've watched those, this is the microphone I use. I film and edit everything from my phone.
Yeah,
everything I do edited is on my phone, including the microphone, and it's just a little USB to USB-C adapter. Just plug straight in my phone and record from the normal camera and use this as an external mic.
Are you using Android or using an iPhone Pro?
It's a Google Pixel, so it's Android.
Okay.
But I don't have to record audio separate and sync it up later or anything, which is really convenient for editing because it's just a normal video file. So
nice, quick, and simple.
Yeah, and this is all I need for now. When I do higher quality stuff and film with a DSLR or something and then edit it later, then I'll use a nice XLR microphone or something. But as of right now, this is exactly what I need.
Yeah.
Now there is something to be said for a professional setup, except when you look at the wallet and it's like, oh, it got killed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and with two under 3-year-old daughters, you don't want things I'd rather buy.
Yeah, you don't want to invest heavily right now. They're at that age where you gotta put a little extra money to take care of the kiddos. I remember those days, and as much as I love my kids, I do miss them from that age. But I like them. I like them now, where they're just barely at that teenager. They're giving me just a little bit of lip, but not a lot. They've got their own computers. I've got mine, and we're gonna start whipping it up on Fortnite.
Cool.
Ooh, there you go.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Much better than the Roblox that they like to play. It's near incessant how much they play sometimes. But at least they're on a computer and not on a stupid console or on a stupid phone.
See, now Green Lantern, that is impressive. Doing stop motion
that is
from a
massively
tablet,
impressive.
That deserves everyone put like clapping emojis in the chat, because that is no joke. Stop motion in general is extremely
difficult, time consuming.
So props to you if you're doing from your tablet. I'm sure he's the same way. Eventually would want to upgrade and get a better setup and make it a little bit easier to do the editing stuff.
A DSLR camera and a nice editing rig. But man, the way computers, you can get most everything for a computer, not for pretty close to retail. Nothing too bad, except for the friggin' GPUs. You still can't get them anywhere near retail.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's so painful. I wanted to upgrade, but because of the whole everything, if I wanted to pay for it, I could, but man, oh man, I don't feel like paying $1,500 for a $500 MSRP card. No way.
Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't sound like fun. I'm
No.
still brand new to PC. I don't know exactly what's in this thing. It's whatever my dad had left over, but I mean, it works so far.
All right. Here's the news. Tomorrow
What do we got?
at 1:00 Eastern, my producer friend, Mr. Pat S, was able to get Diego and Pablo from Midnight's Edge and Espanol. Now here's the kicker.
I think I saw that thumbnail that popped up.
Yeah, I got the thing. I've got it all set up. But here's the thing. The countries that they live in have the largest Japanese population outside of Japan. So Japanese culture is basically as ingrained in them as if they were living in Japan. Now, the reason that that's important is they have a very different take on visions compared to what I did. And one of the discussions that we're going to have tomorrow is going to be looking at it from two different points of view. A primarily Star Wars fan point of view versus somebody that is knowledgeable about anime and specifically about the different studios. So I learned a little something today about Studio Trigger. They did the third episode, the Twins, and they also did the Elder. Now, between the two, as a Star Wars person, the Elder makes a lot more sense because the other one is basically, sequel trilogy in time frame and in terms of the rules regarding what you can do in the show, just some of the overtop nature. Come to find out, they have basically a complete 180 view of it, and they'll explain as to why. And when you hear it, it'll make sense, because once it was explained to me, I'm like, okay, that explains why the third episode was done the way it was done. So I won't go and spoil it, because it's gonna be a good one. And as I said, these two guys, they know their stuff inside out, frontwards, backwards. They put me to shame, and I'm not afraid to say it, because they're basically living in a Japanese culture, or at least a massive subculture within their own culture.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will definitely tune in if I am able to. Saturday's usually the day that I, my daughter, whatever you want, we're hanging out today. Daddy's home, but
now that'll be the way it is for me after I'm done. I'll actually have my daughter this weekend. I normally don't have her on the weekends with my ex, but she decided for whatever reason can't have her this weekend, so I get her. And Darth Orlina, the duel. That's the universal one. That's the one that everybody that's a Star Wars nut knows and completely raves about. But on the flip side, there are things about it that I didn't know that now that I've been told or have more information about it, it makes a little more sense. And I said, when they dig into it and talk about it, it'll make things it'll help make things look it'll basically be from a different point of view.
cool.
And as Obi-Wan said, everything is dependent upon the point of view.
Exactly.
So yeah, it'll be a lot of fun. But have you both seen it all the way through?
I have not. I have not seen all of the Visions episodes.
What have you seen so far?
Let's see. I saw the first one, which was the first one Duel?
That was the duel.
The first one was the duel.
Okay, so I saw the Duel. I saw Village Bride, The Ninth Jedi, and which other one did we see? You remember? I don't recall. There was one other one that we saw. Visions episodes we saw? I couldn't remember what was the other one?
There was
the twins. We saw the twins.
Twins. Yep. Tatooine, Tatooine
Yeah.
Rhapsody was in between there.
Which I didn't see because I heard some negatives about it, so I figured I would come back to that one after.
Here's what I'll
and
suggest
I'll
with
watch it
that
later.
one. That one is basically set in the Clone Wars time frame. But that is a comedy. And because of the fact that it's a comedy, the animation style reflects it. And that style is definitely not for everybody. But I do recommend to watch it, and I recommend, if possible, to try and watch the rest of them, because we're gonna dive into all of them pretty heavily. And I was actually rather surprised at the one that they said was the least influenced by Lucasfilm, because the way that that it was explained to me is, even to my eyes, it looked like there had been no influence, but to their eyes, it's the opposite. There's only one of them that fall into or look like and is basically done as if it was done in Japan directly, without it being touched or edited or censored in any fashion. And the one that they told me was rather surprising. So, but I do recommend, if you can, see them all before tomorrow, because we're going to go crazy with all 9 of them.
That's
Sweet.
awesome, man.
Yeah,
I'm
we'll
looking forward
probably
to
get
that.
all. Yeah, we'll probably be all caught up as soon as we finish this stream here. We'll watch the rest of them.
Yeah.
I wanted to get your perspective, Golgo, on just kind of, I think you had a stream about this the other day that I wasn't able to catch, but what was your opinion on how these episodes represented anime as a whole? Did they help or hurt the public's perception on them? And just kind of how faithful were they to traditional anime styles that they were, portraying?
Well, to me, I thought it hit all the right buttons, but that's something that that Pablo and Diego will discuss more of, because I guess my assessment of that is more of a layman's interpretation of it. Right. But in the last video I did say Star Wars needed anime, but anime doesn't need Star Wars.
Yeah, and that's a fair assessment. I would agree.
Yeah,
with
so that. From the Star Wars, from breaking my brain in half, the left side being my Star Wars brain, right side being my anime brain. This was for the Star Wars side. This is exactly what was needed. For the anime side, now that I've been exposed to a few more things, yeah, it's basically there, but it's more or less going to be indifference.
Okay.
Overall, I still stand by my my assessment of an 8 out of 10, and combining both sides, I'm going to stick with that because I liked it, and ultimately, that at the end of the day, you have to like it. But now, as far as with how the Japanese would interpret things, yeah, it's I'm completely off base.
Okay. Now, how would you say it went as far as bringing people that don't watch anime into maybe starting to get into different anime styles and TV shows and series and things like that?
It should help. If you've never been exposed to it before, and this is one of your first times or your first time in a long time, I do believe it to be a good starting point. And as some of the shows that some of these more established and older running companies have, they get they can get pretty crazy, and that's where Trigger comes into play. And as I said, I'll let them explain as to the why, but since it was explained to me, the shows that the show that they did that I liked, that I thought was the best, it gets turned upside down, because that's the one that I liked is not what they're known for. Whereas the one that went off the rails, in my opinion, that's what they're known for. So
got it.
But Green Lantern, yes, I did see all of them, and I watched the duel 4 times, twice in English and twice in Japanese.
Cool. I think, because we're watching it with the English dub first, just to kind of from a Star Wars fan's perspective, I just want to watch through them and see how it hits me. And then I definitely want to rewatch them all again and hearing the Japanese voice actors and seeing what it's supposed to be like, because there was a few things, especially in the Twins, I think it was apparent, that kind of got lost in translation, things that didn't really translate very well into English as far as like how they were saying things. And I really want to get like the tone of voice with the original Japanese actors that know what the words actually are meaning and saying in the original context. So I definitely want to rewatch everything after I get through it.
And I can tell you why.
Subtitles.
I can tell you why you're thinking that. It's because it's true. In that episode, they did not have Japanese speakers or Japanese people that know Japanese, the Japanese language, doing the dub. Whereas for most of the others, they did. If you look at who the English cast is, they have a lot of Japanese Americans who are fluent in Japanese, can understand the language, the syntax, the inflections, the various points of emphasis, and can adapt that over. Now, the way that it was explained from what I saw from Disney, you see that one is actually the one that is the most. Oh, how can I put it without giving too much away? You'll just have to tune in because that episode is the one that was mentioned as being the least changed, if not changed at all. So, as I said, they'll explain the whys and the whats on how they came to their conclusions. But what they did after they animated it, or the animators, they get the voice recording first from the Japanese voice actors, then they animate it to the Japanese words.
Right.
And then what they did after that is they got people specifically for characters that are specifically Japanese, especially in the duel. They are 100% Japanese, whereas in the Twins, they are not. Yeah, that's why you have Neil Patrick Harris and the other person, they don't speak Japanese at all. Whereas in the duel, it's Lucy Liu, and she does. And I can't think of the other person's name, but he does too. So that's how come that worked so much better in that. As far as watching it in Japanese, if you're watching it on Disney Plus, you just got to go to your settings and you can change it to Japanese. The only problem with Disney Plus is they don't have a standard English subtitling. They have the closed caption, which also, like for the first one, it says, plates crashing, somber music, crap like that. Right. They have all that to go with it. But if you do a search on Google for watch anime online, you can watch it there. And they do have both the dubbed and the English subbed, or English subtitled and English dub on there to watch. So that's how you can do that. And I did like the bunny girl one, or the episode was Lopo and Ocho. And
I enjoyed that one as well.
That one is the most traditional-ish out of all of them, as far as following traditional anime procedure for how a show's done. And
it seems like there's a lot of things that people were worried about. I know the bunny girl people were worried about, with the whole like furries thing. A lot of people were just kind of expecting it to be weird, and people that aren't too familiar with anime, I think they have a preconception of what anime is already, and they were kind of expecting it to be weird. I'm sure that's a very common occurrence. Another example would be the lightsaber umbrella. People were really worried about that, and like, how is that Star Wars if you can have a lightsaber umbrella like that? That's so weird. But as I was talking with Matt Caver, chatting in his stream last night, it was more of an attachment, which is actually a really cool idea that we haven't seen in the Star Wars, because the Kyber crystal is a power source. Lightsaber is just one manifestation of that power. And so if you have an attachment, let's say those blades individually on the umbrella are a little weaker,
Mm-hmm.
but it's an attachment.
It works as a blaster deflector.
Exactly. And it's sort of like Ezra Bridger's gun blaster lightsaber that he made. It's kind of the same idea, where it's just a slightly modified version of that. I mean, we have light whips already in Star Wars, and no one really complains about those. So I thought that was really cool. But to kind of sum it up, it seems like there's a lot of things that people were worried about before this came out that I'm not really hearing those specific things anymore being criticized. It's more the individual episodes that people liked or disliked. So is that kind of what you've gathered so far from fans?
No.
Interesting.
No. The majority of all the Star Wars places that I've hopped around on, I know that we haven't done the EBN thing yet. You guys are probably the first ones that I've seen that have actually given it a fair shake and not just completely poo-pooed on it in whole. Whereas some of Star Wars Meg liked it. That I do know. I didn't watch it. I didn't watch her thing in full, but the opening part that I got of it is, she liked it. Okay, that's good. As far as why she likes it, it's going to vary from episode to episode, and that's fine. But I won't name names. But I did hop onto another stream, and for lack of a better term, and I have to use a no word for it. They basically just shed on the whole thing.
Oh wow.
Yeah, all 8 or 9 of them from what I was seeing, and I'm like, we on the Star Wars side, the Star Wars brain says we are starving for good Star Wars content. We have been begging for something that doesn't suck, something that hasn't been tainted by Kathleen Kennedy and the story group and all that crap. And none of that High Republic, here comes Geode, pink hair brigade freaks, none of that crap. This is it. It's here. We have it. We have something completely unique, something highly artistic, something that takes the rules of the eras that they're in, and in some cases, like with Studio Trigger, pushes it to the quite literal extreme and damn near breaks the rules. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's something that I talked with him about yesterday on his Arch Villain stream, which, by the way, if you can, try to do it, because his streams are fun with that. But the point of it all was, it's entertaining. It's highly respectful. Even though for the trained eye, there are things that they nitpicked about it. But from the Star Wars side, it's, at least for me on the Star Wars side, it's as close to a perfect compilation as I could have asked for from that side, from that point of view.
Yeah, and I've gathered the same thing in the few episodes that I've seen so far. Is it was respectful to Star Wars and the Star Wars universe, and even the things that it changed, like in the twins, it wasn't upsetting to me. It was a little uncomfortable. That's why the twins I didn't really like so far. Just because it was stuff that was sort of familiar, and I was trying to figure out how it placed itself in the Star Wars universe. But it wasn't disrespectful, and it wasn't totally different than what we've seen before, and it wasn't, any of the like woke stuff that people are complaining about.
There was none of that in there.
It didn't feel anything like the Kathleen Kennedy, Rian Johnson stuff that we've been worried about with other stuff. I didn't really feel anything about that. If anything, for me, the only complaints were like what I mentioned earlier, the lost in translation dialogue stuff, and just certain things that just didn't really catch my eye. But I didn't see anything specifically that offended me.
Yeah.
Which as a really hardcore Star Wars fan, that's really important. And I think the biggest thing that helps this whole Visions project is that it's not canon. If it was canon, there would be major consequences to some of these things that came out.
Yes, there would.
So,
and in one of my earlier
because I think because it's non-canon, they had that freedom to be able to change things, a little bit more, like in the Ninth Jedi with the lightsaber kyber crystals changing color according to whoever. That would be kind of canon breaking if that were actual canon, and put it along the line somewhere, because kind of like hammering the kyber crystal and like a saber swift kind of doing that as opposed to a Jedi putting together, that's different. But it's not canon, and it still resected the lightsaber as opposed to,
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
that particular style, like we were talking earlier about there being a swordsmith, that was something I thought that was such a cool idea to take that idea of a swordsmith and make it for lightsabers. I didn't think I'd ever see anything like that. And they made it work. And here's how I went into watching this show was I knew things were going to be over the top in a lot of ways, but that's what I went in expecting and in many ways looking forward to. Because I look at it like I think back to when I was a kid and I'm creating these scenes with the action figures and playing with the toys. And you think about it, when you're playing these things with your siblings or your friends or whatever, you're going nuts with what could possibly happen, you know, with any power. It's you take it to an extreme, and to be able to get to witness that actually happen on screen and see this huge level of imagination come to life, it's fun. And that's what this show was. It was fun.
Absolutely. And
Here's
why
one thing. Oh, go ahead, go, and then I'll.
Yeah, that's why it succeeds. And to answer Green Lantern 345, yes, I did like it. As I said, the Star Wars side of me likes it more than the anime side, but when I combine the two together, I'm good with my initial 8 out of 10. I'll stick with that. And as far as the FNT crew goes, that doesn't surprise me. And here's why. It's because none of those guys are anime guys. They are traditional Western comic book movies, Western animation, Western cinema people first, traditional Star Wars people. And as much as I like some of those guys, they have a tendency to be a little too black-pilled for my taste on certain topics. And that's just, some of them are a little closer to it, and they've been looking at it for a lot longer than we have. But at the same time, I'm not so overly pessimistic that everything is, put a stake through the heart. It's done, period, end of story. It's never coming back ever again for any reason. I don't believe that with any of them. Are things like Star Trek in a bad place? Oh yeah. Star Trek is in some serious trouble.
I can imagine.
Star Wars has been in some serious trouble. It's not as bad, but it's still not to the point where it could be or it should have been. So basically it's a lost decade, more or less, in a lot of respects. And that's the same thing that's happened with Trek, same thing that's happened with Doctor Who, same thing that's happened with a lot of these things that have been touched or had a series or a movie made during these 5, 6, 7 years of woke wankery. And it's just going to be a lost decade.
Do you think kind of what he was saying, the disconnect between what the panel was saying about that and the chat, do you think for some people it is kind of like the train to jump on to dislike Visions right now among some crowds? Do you think there's that aspect to it?
Probably. There probably is some clickbaitiness to it, and they may all be completely genuine about it.
Right.
And that's fine. One of the streams I did yesterday, there were a few people that said that they're glad to see something for people to talk about again, but they themselves won't watch it.
Right.
Because they're holding extremely fast to the I hate Disney, period, end of story. They're completely irredeemable in all shapes, matters, and forms. And that may be true. Disney as a corporation has done some really, really stupid things.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the corporation is run by people. Ergo, the people that run it have done some really, really massively stupid things.
Right. I couldn't taste any Disney in the episodes that I've seen so far. I don't know about you guys. It was almost like Disney was only there to give permission to the studios, which is kind of what I've heard so far. I'm sure you'll talk about stuff like that on your show tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And when I looked at who actually did the production or the main production, it's all done with the Japanese studios. But the overarching producers are from Lucasfilm. But I can tell you this: no Kathleen Kennedy, no Pablo Hidalgo, no Jon Favreau, and no Dave Filoni. None of those people had anything to do with it.
Yep.
And I think I definitely would want Favreau and Filoni involved if this were canon. If they were to take any of these episodes and make them into a miniseries or something and make it canon, I definitely would want them involved. But I also like that for the non-canon stuff, they gave them free reins to just, be respectful, and obviously the Japanese, I believe, are a culture of respect, and I don't believe that they would do anything disrespectful.
Yeah.
So I trusted them to respect Star Wars. And I think as far as I've seen so far, they really did that. And I like that they just kind of turned loose and did that. A couple comments here. Green Lantern says, I heard they were using this as test runs to see what people like the most and then possibly turn some of those into series, which I think would be really cool if they stuck with the theme. That's something I talked about earlier. I don't know any of the behind the scenes stuff. I don't have those kind of connections, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were really watching closely as to what fans were liking as of these series. And as I said earlier, possibly make him into a mini series. And Paul says something right here. I have not seen Visions yet, but I'm interested in if any of the episodes could be made into a series or a movie. Absolutely.
Yes.
There are a few, just the ones that I saw. Maybe not Village Bride, because that one seemed pretty episodic, but Ninth Jedi and The Duel definitely could be either a movie. Ninth Jedi could be a really cool movie, and I think The Duel would be cool as a miniseries.
Lopan Ocho would be a good series. The Elder could be a good series. Now, from what I understand, The Elder is set in the High Republic time frame. And if that's the case, this was actually done way better than anything that they've done with High Republic. But if that's the time frame that's supposed to be set in, that needs to be the template going forward. Focus on the master and the apprentice of the Jedi Order.
Yep.
As opposed to trying to run the Outer Rim or any of that stuff. The episode takes place in the Outer Rim, but they're patrolling it. They're not out there trying to impose the order. They're just going out there just to make sure that everybody's okay.
Yeah. I think they touched on every era in throughout these episodes.
And Cobra says, I've never watched any anime before, and watching Visions didn't motivate me to look into it down the road. And that's fair. If it's not your style, that's fine. That's kind of pick and choose a buffet. I think it was X-Wing that said something like that. Is Star Wars kind of turning into a buffet? You pick and choose what you like, and if you don't like it, then that's, keep it to yourself, as long as it's not disrespectful to the franchise, like the sequel trilogy. We'll get into that later.
Yeah.
We will.
Well, had they asked for production IG and they'll even Trigger, if they had asked both of them to help them develop the sequel trilogy, it would have been a hell of a lot more fun, and it would have been a lot more it would have been better. Let's put it that way. Vastly superior.
And Green Lantern says something right here. I'm thankful that John and Dave aren't the only ones that can make good Star Wars content.
Yeah.
That's really profound, because a lot of people hold John and Dave, or John or Dave, up as the only person who is possible or who is capable of making good Star Wars content. That's not true. They just hired the wrong people for the sequels.
Yep.
They just, whoever was steering the ship, it was just them and their bad decisions. And the fact that, they were able to give multiple different studios a chance to make this, and multiple studios made stuff that we enjoy as Star Wars fans, as anime fans, that we enjoyed. Maybe not loved, maybe we didn't love all the episodes, but we enjoyed it. And it was, I think we can all agree, faithful to the legacy of Star Wars. And it honored what Star Wars is to so many people. That's a really profound statement, is they're not the only ones that can make good Star Wars content.
Yeah.
Yep, that's very true.
To Green Lantern's point about it being a test run, that's how I felt about it. I think the idea is the test run was, what if we give creative freedom and not get in their way?
Yes.
What do we get? Because fans have been screaming out about that, especially about Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. It's like, they were given this creative freedom, and look what happened. We gained success. But so if this is that test run, and you give all these different studios the opportunity, exactly that. You watch the viewing, you see what's being watched the most, you see how people react to it, and now they can pick a direction to go from there. and feel comfortable with it.
Yeah, and I'm still surprised that they greenlit Clone Wars season 7.
That was a
Yeah.
shock.
I don't
Yeah, that was a
even know
shock.
how that happened, because that was in production basically at the same time Rise of Skywalker was coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, looking back on it now, that's a wonder that was ever greenlit.
That's probably because certain people may have realized that they had screwed the pooch per se, and they thought, no, better hedge their bets, or at least start the process of hedging their bets. So that would be an interesting thing to go into as far as the who's, the what's, and the whys that show got made. Because you're right, it had no business being made, considering
And
how
it had
long
no
it's
business
been.
being as good as it was.
Yeah,
For
that
what we
too.
had been getting
Exactly.
out up to that point. The last 4 episodes of the Clone Wars are some of the best Star Wars, period.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's
It just-
incredible.
It blows my mind every time I watch it, which is quite often. Every time I watch Revenge of the Sith, it's Revenge of the Sith extended with those last 4 episodes, and it just
Yeah.
Cool.
it's so good. And just thinking back now, that just hit me tonight. That happened during Rise of Skywalker, basically, when that was in production,
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
because who knows how long they had been writing that final season? A year, 2 years, 3 years?
Yeah, I was thinking that was probably sitting on the back burner for a little while, and because I was so upset when the initial series ended, because I thought it was 100% going to do what that original Clone Wars anime did. That original Clone Wars led right up to the opening sequence of Revenge of the Sith. I was like, oh, this is going to be so great. We're going to get it in the new animation. We'll do exactly that. And then the show abruptly ended when the transition happened and it left Cartoon Network and Disney took ownership. And then we got nothing else after that. And I was like, man, what a huge disappointment and a missed opportunity, because I knew there was more written for the show that never got done. And then all of a sudden we get this season 7. And like you said, those last 4 episodes, not only did they lead up to Revenge of the Sith, they went into Revenge of the Sith, which...
And during Revenge.
Yeah.
At the same time, the meeting with all the Jedi and the Jedi Council around there, and Ahsoka tells them that she needs to speak with Anakin. That is literally seconds after Anakin leaves the FaceTime, space time, whatever. Like, he's literally talking with them and he leaves the chat, and then Ahsoka walks in. It's so seamless. And if you watch that extended edition, the one specifically I'm talking about, that is all edited in live action and animation flawlessly. It swaps back and forth depending on who's talking, and it's so accurate to what is actually going on in the story at that time. It's so good. And again, how this happened during Rise of Skywalker basically is beyond me. Looking back, it's pretty incredible.
It is amazing. That is true.
So all that to say that the creative freedom is something that they shouldn't be afraid, or the fans shouldn't be afraid if they give people creative freedom, because it was just a bad batch that, to use a pun, that they gave it to make the sequels.
Say Green Lantern 345 brings up a point. Even the Robot Kid one was pretty cool after a little bit. Did anybody get a Mega Man vibe from that?
Oh, I was just saying that earlier. It was like Astro Boy meets Mega Man meets Star Wars. That was Dr. Light.
Yep, it was.
It was 100% Dr. Light. And I was just waiting the whole episode. I was like, where's Dr. Wily? When are we getting him?
Instead, what's the term for the Sith hunters, the Inquisitors? We got an Inquisitor. But yeah, that one also is seeming to get a bit of hate, but I liked it precisely because it was extremely Mega Man and Astro Boyish. And if anybody grew up with those or is familiar with Astro Boy and that show, then yeah, they're gonna like it. But if you have no idea what it is, you're probably gonna say, "What the hell is this?" Because a droid being that agile and having the ability to connect to the Force through his creator, not a common thing.
Yeah. Well, when you
And
think about, oh, sorry, go ahead, man.
I was going to say again, what I was saying before is if there's certain things that wouldn't necessarily fit in Star Wars canon with the way the world works, but they're just little things that are slightly different, that's okay. It's like a parallel reality as opposed to a big branch off.
Mhm.
Like I haven't seen the Marvel What If shows
Neither have
or
I.
whatever. I would imagine they're pretty drastic differences from what we get in the MCU. But I haven't felt that yet with Visions, with the episodes that I've watched. It's not a big change. It's just like, in another version of this world,
Exactly. It's our what if for Star Wars. Like, what if
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
droid being could be force sensitive? Okay.
Right.
Well, let's play with that idea.
Wasn't there in the EU a droid that was? Because I vaguely recall hearing something like that.
I don't know.
There could have been. What era was it in? Do you remember?
I don't.
Yeah, I might have heard something like that, but I've heard so many stories of rogue droids that kind of did their own thing. Like that one battle droid after the Clone Wars ended, he became like a bounty hunter. He was just a B1 battle droid. I forget what his name was. But like there's so many stories like that. I wouldn't be surprised if somewhere in Legends there is like a force sensitive robot.
Yeah, that's what sticks out in my mind is that there was one droid that did have some force sensitivity. And you know what? They may be an artificially constructed being, but at the same time, droids, they're basically like they're really no different than any other life form out in the galaxy.
They had sentience.
Yeah, exactly. They're sentient beings. Why would that particular type of sentience not have that ability to connect to something that is supposed to surround us and bind us and be in everything?
Yeah.
Ergo, it would have to be within the droid's capabilities too, if it's in everything. And if it's a sentient being, it technically is alive. Why not?
Right. Well, think of it this way. Back when they were first starting, Alan Turing or whatever in World War II, creating the Turing machine, that all the, the first generation of computers and stuff. If you had told some of those people there's going to be robots in the future, computers like this machine that can think for themselves and see the world around them and hear the world around them and sense if things are close by and tell when something is touching them, you'd be like, only humans and animals can do that. What are you talking about? Who's to say that you can't create a robot in the Star Wars universe that is in tune with that has sensors that can detect the force, which is in all living things? And as you said, sentience is basically living, maybe not organically, but they have that awareness. So what's to say that they couldn't have sensors that could detect the force? Now, as far as using the force, I don't know how that would work with a robot. I haven't seen the episode that you're talking about specifically. I don't know what it could lead to in the future, but I'm not going to rule that out just because, a droid can't be a Jedi, because it's not in canon. My mind is open. If they do it well and have a legitimate explanation for it, I don't care. It sounds really cool to me.
Yeah. And it was a lot of fun. As I said, they were all pretty fun. As I said, some got way out there, but if you're able to catch it live, we'll have a much deeper understanding about all of them.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'll definitely want to check it out. Oh, and we got Nerdtorial here.
Hey, Brian.
Hey.
Good to see you. But yeah, definitely, if you can be there tomorrow, definitely do it, because it's gonna be lit. It's gonna be good. And so these two gentlemen, they know their stuff. So
yeah. Paul says, I like to see a Star Wars movie or TV series from the Empire's perspective. Same story, different view. That would be incredibly
TIE Fighter.
Yeah, TIE Fighter.
I was just gonna say. As close as you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's
Work
the one
your way
that,
up to become the right hand of the Emperor.
That's the one that Ted, the old Star Wars nerd, watched on EBTV the other night, wasn't it? That he reacted to?
Yeah, he did.
The TIE Fighter anime? Oh,
yeah.
Man, that's so good.
Yeah. And Paul, if you want kind of the same thing, but from the Sith perspective, and you haven't read the Bane trilogy, that's where you got to go next. If you want the same kind of Jedi versus Sith story, but from the Sith perspective, the Bane trilogy is a must read. The Bane trilogy is highly recommended. It's, for me, it's right up there with the original trilogy, prequel trilogy, and the Bane trilogy. They're all fantastic. It's really, really good.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's definitely good. And as I said, it's going to be a very interesting discussion, and I know that I'm gonna get an education in certain things, and I hope that everybody that can be there tomorrow will be there, because it's, as I said, it's going to be good. Basically, they are my senseis, more or less.
Nice.
I may be the professional, but they're my professionals.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That's while I'm working around the house and stuff, I'm gonna have my earbuds in and I'll listen in podcast style.
Yeah, definitely drop a line, because I'll definitely acknowledge you. I try to be on top of that. So, well, guys, I am going to go. Let's see. I got to create an opening video clip for it, and then I think I'm going to go slay some more demons.
Nice.
So, yeah, I did that a lot today. Today was pretty slow for work, so I went from level 1 to 17 today.
Okay.
So it's not too bad.
I don't know anything about it. I'm pretty in the dark about
Diablo 2.
Yeah.
I gotta get my character close enough to where I can hop in with Coach and not be too far behind, because I know he's been.
Coach is in beast mode right now. He's
in insane. Yeah, he's in the insane mode right now.
He canceled his trip to Tennessee for that game. So, he was supposed to be in my neck of the woods this whole end of the week and the weekend.
Really?
But yeah, he's like I can't. I had to cancel my trip. Diablo 2. I got to do that.
Wow, talk about an obsession. Who would have thought that the spawn from hell would have been his obsession?
That's the one.
Yeah. Okay, so Cobra Disney Jedi, and I know you got to go Golgo 13. So if you got to pop out, then
yeah, I'll take off to Black Dragon. Definitely be there tomorrow. Since you came in late, I'll say it again real quick. Pablo and Diego of Midnight's Edge and Espanol and the Latino Slant is going to be on the show tomorrow, 1 p.m.
Sweet.
Eastern time, and they pretty much, they're my sensei when it goes to the deep everything regarding anime. So it's going to be lit. It's going to be fun. So
sweet.
That's awesome.
All right, guys, I'm going to take off.
Awesome.
Good night,
Thank
buddy.
you for coming on. Good to see you. And
thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity. And
absolutely.
Yeah, we'll see you all tomorrow.
All right. See ya.
See ya.
And again, if none of you guys are subscribed, or if any of you guys are not subscribed, rather, to Golgo 13's Anime 101, please do that. If nothing else, just support his channel. A subscription costs you nothing, but it means a whole lot to the person you're subscribing to. And what Cobra Disney Jedi is saying is, I wouldn't mind seeing a Bane trilogy in the movies as long as they stick to the novel real close. Yeah, that would be important. If they were to change some stuff, I would be a little worried about what they'd change. There's a few things, as far as I remember in the Bane trilogy, that aren't super crucial, that if they modified them to make them more visually pleasing, as far as in a movie format, that would be fine. But there's a lot of key points that they would really have to nail down. And X-Wing and I have talked about this before. It would be amazing if there was a Christopher Nolan Bane trilogy.
Oh, wow.
That's what I would be pulling for, because it seems like it's something right up his alley. He could make it dark and gritty and gnarly and true to the original books and interesting, because Nolan is my favorite director, hands down.
Nice.
And just the way that he tells stories is not only really impressive for me, but is appropriate for the Bane trilogy, I feel. So if I could pick anyone to direct a Bane trilogy, it would be Christopher Nolan. No,
that would come out awesome. I mean, I feel like, and I think you were touching on this a little bit just before, that I feel like we need some more stories from either an Imperial point of view or just straight up dark side point of view. And I've actually felt this way for a long time, ever since playing the original Knights of the Old Republic. And one of my favorite sections of that game was when you're on Korriban and there's the Sith Academy there,
Yep.
and you're learning their. You had to learn the Sith code.
Yes.
It was so fascinating. I learned about
and seeing
fact
how
that-
all the students and how they're interacting with the Sith masters
Yep.
and how the school runs. It was really cool because we'd never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
And this
And
came
how they
out
look
back,
through the tombs. Oh, this was, yeah, when did that come out? I don't even remember what year that
was
was.
it 20
but-
years ago?
It's got to be
I
coming
don't
up on that
remember.
because
It was a while ago.
it
was a
might have
long
been
while
like
ago.
2001, 2002,
So
somewhere
this
around
is
there.
original Xbox, so this is a while ago.
Yeah.
So
But this
Nerdporial
was-
says like the Dark Knight trilogy. Yeah, the Dark Knight trilogy is an amazing trilogy, especially obviously the Dark Knight is the best of the three, but Dark Knight Rises even as well, and the way that they treat the city as its own character is so cool. That someone brought that up in a video I was watching before. In that the city of Gotham is the character, is one of the main characters in the movie, and it's such a cool concept, and the way that he treats everything in a ultra real scenario, not a fantastic superhero movie. Like you forget you're watching a superhero movie, except it's just it happens to be Batman in this
It happens
scenario,
to be Batman.
which is,
yeah.
And I think that ultra realism could lend itself really good to the Bane story. Is focus on the real issues that these characters are dealing with, not hyperspace ramming.
Yes. No more hyperspace ramming, which,
Yeah.
by the way,
Into the twins.
yes.
But
when that happened, I was like, oh no. I mean, they actually did it again.
but it was with the lightsaber, and it didn't seem as outlandish to me. I don't know. It didn't bother me as much, but I did think that was
But
very
yeah, as
funny.
soon as that happened, I was like, wow. I mean, that whole episode is way over the top, and you have to just turn off your brain and to sit back and enjoy it. It's a different form of what you would call just like a popcorn movie, like where you're just like, yep, okay, here we go. Just whatever I'm going to see, I'm going to enjoy.
Yeah.
That's what you have to go into these things willing to enjoy it. If you're not willing at all at the start, you're going to hate it because you're overthinking everything. But I went in just wanting to hear a good story. But on the side of what you're talking about with like Christopher Nolan style filming, with that, you ground it in reality to a point. I'd even say as far as even some of Zack Snyder's style, like I really liked Man of Steel because I loved seeing Superman in a grounded setting.
Yes.
And it's funny because that's the version of Superman my wife didn't like at all. She loves the almost Christopher Reeve and Smallville style, upbeat, positive, everything. And that's what we had for so many years. And then when we got a darker tone to it, and it reminded me of Dark
Man
Knight.
of Steel when it came out.
Yeah. Oh, it's one of my favorites. I absolutely love it.
Yeah.
I'm a big Superman fan. But that version of Superman and then Christopher Nolan's version of Batman are two of my all-time favorites now.
Yeah. Absolutely. To answer Nerdporial, he says, what is your favorite Nolan movie? Interstellar. I like Interstellar. It blew me away when I saw it in theater, but currently my favorite movie well, it's tied for my favorite movie period. But my favorite Nolan movie is Tenet.
I gotta watch that.
And you gotta watch it. It is people say it's too hard to follow. With subtitles, it's no harder than Inception to follow along with.
And I loved Inception.
I didn't have any issues. Yeah. Inception is like my second or third favorite movie. You guys would probably be shocked to know that my Tenet is tied for my favorite movie with Pride and Prejudice.
Okay.
The Keira Knightley one, not because of Keira Knightley, but just because of how well done that movie is. There's so many little details in that movie that they just executed flawlessly. And I love that movie. It's so good.
Yeah.
It's a chick flick, and I don't know, it's just so well made. But anyway,
Hey, look, sometimes movies just get you. Look, I love the movie Legends of the Fall. It was a
and I
Brad
haven't
Pitt
seen
movie.
that one.
It was a great film. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Brad Pitt, Anthony Hopkins, and it was just so well done. But sometimes there's movies like that they fall in the realm of you
Yeah.
say, oh, it's a chick flick and everything, you know which movie got me like that? That was total chick flick, and even the novel itself is, I guess you would call it, aimed at being for women and everything, was The Time Traveler's Wife. Have you ever seen that movie with
Mm-mm.
Eric Bana?
Mm-mm.
They take the concept of time travel, and like anything with time travel, you got to set some rules. What form of time travel are we
Right.
working with here?
Exactly.
Right? And they do that very well, and they stay within the rules. And I don't want to say what it is because it is a spoiler in itself,
Mhm.
but anyone watching, if you like time travel stuff, give this movie a chance. The Time Traveler's Wife.
Yeah. I'll have to check it out, definitely.
Yeah, but
Nerdporial says I had no idea what was going on in Tenet. I couldn't make out what was said. That is the most common criticism of that movie. And admittedly and self-admittedly by Christopher Nolan, the audio was at a lower volume and not recorded correctly. But he claims it was intentional because some things don't really need to be understood. And there's even a line in that movie that says, "Don't try to understand it, feel it." And that's speaking to us as the audience. Like, don't try to pick apart everything and make it make perfect sense in your mind. Enjoy the movie. And in that movie, the main character, whose name is not listed, he's listed in the credits as the protagonist, is
oh,
in
interesting.
place of us, the audience. So as he's going through the story, learning things and not knowing what's going on, we, the audience, are going through the story, learning things and not knowing what's going on. So if the stuff isn't making sense and like, why is all this happening? It's because the protagonist is learning the same thing. So watch that movie with subtitles, and I think you'll understand it. It's pretty
Okay.
sick. If you want to do a watch party, I'll like talk to you,
Oh, hell
tell
yeah.
you what's going on. But that would be fun. I got some other comments to catch up on.
Go for it.
Paul Lewis says The Dark Knight Rises is the weakest in the Nolan trilogy. Arguably so, and I don't fault you for having that belief. But I recently went back to, well, not recently, it was like a year ago, went back to Dark Knight Rises, and it blew me away with how good it was. And there's some cheap scenes with like the lady's death at the end of the movie and stuff like that. But actually, like the world the world itself is so impressive in how Nolan set up the city of Gotham and the different movements and stuff that go on in the movie. It's actually a lot better than I remembered from seeing it the first time. Ooh, aha, aha. Oh, and I thought my jokes were bad.
I ever tell you how I got these scars?
My father was a drinker and a fiend. It's so good.
You see, this is why people don't like Dark Knight Rises as much. It's because how do you top that?
I don't know.
That
it's so good.
performance alone, Heath Ledger, I mean, God rest his soul, he blew me away. And I remember when it was announced that he was cast as the Joker. And I was like, the dude from A Knight's Tale? I'm like, what? I'm like, he's the Joker? I'm like, what is going on? And then I walked out of that theater blown away. Just, yeah. Absolutely incredible.
Yep, I completely agree. Let's see what else I got. Green Lantern likes Pride and Prejudice as well. I watched the first 20 minutes of Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, and I kind of felt disrespected, and I didn't really care for it a whole lot.
Was that along the lines of Abraham Lincoln fighting vampires or whatever
I think
that
so.
was?
I think so. Same vibe. I watched the first 2 episodes of The Foundation tonight. It's a slow burner, but visually stunning. I don't know what it is.
I don't know what that is either.
Probably have to put it on my list. Let's see. If you're good at something, never do it for free.
I'm gonna make this pencil disappear.
Ta-da! It's gone. It's okay.
Oh, I gotta go rewatch that movie now at this point.
Yeah, it's so good. We got the
Nerd
Nerd for Real. How are you doing, sir?
Good. How the heck are you?
We
Good,
are
man.
doing great. Yeah.
You know, you remind me of my father. I hate my father.
How much do you want? Half. Relax.
I have
I'm
a-
only burning my half.
I have a confession. When that movie came out, I was doing summer semester in college, and I pulled an all-nighter the night before for a final. And so when I saw a midnight showing of Dark Knight with my friend, I fell asleep during the movie.
Ooh.
Mm.
So yeah, that was me.
When
It's a
I
long flick,
saw The Dark Knight for the first time, I had never seen any of the Dark Knight series, the Christopher Nolan Batman movies, and it was the premiere of The Dark Knight Rises, and it was a back-to-back of Batman Begins,
Oh,
Dark Knight,
wow.
Dark Knight Rises. I hadn't seen any of it, and it was just me and my friends like, oh, we're going to this thing. We bought you a ticket. Come along with us. Batman. I was like, okay, I never really watched Batman movies, so we'll check it out. And it started at like 6:00 or something, and then
Wow.
or pretty early, like 5 or 6 o'clock at night, and then by midnight it was the premiere, or something like that, and it blew me away. All of those, like, imagine like watching for the first time the Batman Begins. Okay, this is a really cool Batman. Dark Knight Rises, or Dark Knight with Heath Ledger, like that's the craziest thing I've ever seen. And then Dark Knight Rises. It was a crazy night, but that was my introduction to Christopher Nolan in general, I guess. Was that night. It was pretty.
I actually liked it when I first saw the movie. I was living in Peoria, and
Illinois.
yeah, Illinois.
Okay.
I was living there, and then I saw it with a coworker, and I was just blown away. I just thought it was just a great movie. I loved the ending. I know it was controversial to a lot of Batman fans, but I'm not a big. I mean, the only Batman I know is the movies, and the first thing I ever saw was the Adam West '60s Batman, because that was on in the late '80s. That was on all the time. So I actually saw that before I saw Batman '89. So I remember my folks got the VHS. They brought home the VHS, and so it was really interesting seeing Batman with a black outfit this time, and the Joker not played by Cesar Romero but played by Jack Nicholson. It was very interesting. So, and I never realized it until I was an adult that it was Prince music that they were playing in that movie. So apparently
I have not seen the Jack Nicholson Batman.
Ooh, the '89 Batman.
Really?
Yeah, I have
Worth
not.
a watch.
That is very comic booky, and it's very it looks very 1940s, 1950s noir style of setting of Gotham. Yeah. So
I mean, obviously, I've heard a lot of good things about it. I've just never gotten around to it.
But if you want another iconic Joker performance, Jack Nicholson's version again, totally different from Heath Ledger. Like, that's the thing about the Joker. Every version of the Joker we have had has been its own thing and has been really well done. My favorite Joker of all time is Mark Hamill. His Joker from the Batman animated series, and then he even reprised in the games, in the Arkham games and everything.
Yep.
I don't know what it is. It's that mixture that he brings to it of being terrifying and hilarious at the same time, and he just nailed it.
Yeah, I totally agree. He did
Heath Ledger was just terrifying.
Yeah, Heath Ledger was like downright disturbing. Like, just
good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are tonight's entertainment. Only have one question: where is Harvey Dent? You know where he is? I just want to ask him something little.
That slow clap that he does. I
Hello,
love
beautiful.
Oh yeah. It's just those moments that he did on his own that made it into the film.
Yeah.
I mean, the infamous
Oh.
scene where he's clicking the button and it's not going off. I mean, they captured gold.
Yep, and that was Chicago.
It's awesome.
Yeah, they did a lot right in that movie, which is why I would trust Nolan with the Bane trilogy.
I'm surprised because I was going to school not too far from downtown. That's around that time is when they were filming the movie. So I'm surprised I missed out on that. I missed out on seeing them shoot and stuff.
One thing that I thought was amazing about Tenet is in Nerdport, you did say you saw it, right? You just didn't care for it.
I saw Tenet. I had no idea what was going on. I couldn't hear the dialogue, so I lost. I didn't know what was going on. So when I didn't know what was going on, I just I stayed and watched the entire movie. I had no idea what was going on, so I couldn't really get invested.
Yeah, that's something. I'm assuming you watched it in a theater.
Yes.
Yeah, I see a lot of people that watched it in a theater. That was the same problem. They couldn't hear it, and one of the reasons was because it was a movie that was edited and designed for IMAX. And with the IMAX theaters, you have a whole different sound system, and the sound quality is way different to where your ear is able to pick up the different sound frequencies. It's the difference between like a pair of headphones with one speaker in each ear versus like in-ear monitors for singers that have, like 6-7 drivers in each ear. It's for those different frequencies. And I heard that as a common complaint in the lower end theaters. If it wasn't IMAX, the audio was really, really hard to discern and you weren't able to follow along. But one thing I wanted to say was the plane crash scene. You know which one I'm talking about? Where they crashed the plane in Tenet? Nerporial? The jet. Do you remember that at all? Okay. Anyway, they crashed a 747 in the movie. That's not CGI. They crash a literal, legit 747 because it was cheaper to buy and crash a real plane than to CGI a plane crash.
Wow.
And that's an actual thing that they did. They bought the 747, like a decommissioned one, and they crashed it. And it's not like crashing out of the sky. It's down the runway and stuff. But they crashed a real 747 because they pulled the engines and all the stuff they could salvage out of the inside of the plane and sold that, which made up for most of the cost of the plane. And they crashed it, and that was cheaper than if they had CGI'd the whole plane crash. So
that's crazy.
Really cool how I mean the scene at the very beginning when we're introduced to Bane in The Dark Knight Rises, that was all practical with the plane getting strapped on with the other one and the wings flying off, and that was all practical. It's amazing the stuff
that was crazy.
Do.
Yeah.
Every time I watch that, I get goosebumps and stuff. Yes. I just get nervous.
Mm-hmm.
I like how they handled Bane in that film too. It was different from the comics, but the thing that actually surprised me the most is the fact that they actually stayed true to the character of being incredibly smart. Most audiences who are just common viewer, just anybody would go into it, thinks of Bane as being a big hulking brute. That's
inject
dumb.
the venom, smash things, like kind of like Hulk. Yeah.
Like he was depicted in Batman Robin, the greatest movie ever made.
That's what general audiences would just expect. So when some audiences came in and all of a sudden he's incredibly smart and well spoken, it threw some people off. But fans were like, "You nailed it. That's what he was supposed to be."
Yeah, he was intelligent. I mean, the only thing I know about him is that he was intelligent, super intelligent, and he breaks Batman's back. Yes. I'm not a comic book reader, but I have friends that have read those, and so I knew about that. So seeing that on the screen was wow. I was like, are they really going to do it? They did.
They did it.
Yeah. And I was just like, ooh, I just so felt for. Batman for Christian Bale, and I was just like, because I think, don't you see the bone like sticking out at some
Oh,
point? It was
they-
crazy. I was like,
They went
whoa,
all out with that.
damn.
Yeah.
I was like, darn. Excuse me, darn. I gotta watch my. I gotta watch my. No words.
Yeah, Bane was perfect in The Dark Knight Rises. I only wish we got more Batman. Yeah, and they wanted to tell a different aspect of that whole storyline. It wasn't completely focused on Batman, which I actually liked. I appreciate, but I see exactly what you're saying and where you're coming
What'd
from.
you think about the Talia al Ghul plot twist? That was something that a lot of people had a lot of issues with.
Ra's al Ghul.
I don't care for it. It doesn't upset me as imagine some people are upset by it. I think it could have been handled better. But
Because it made Bane the lackey instead of making him, that was, I think that was the big reason people didn't like it, is because it turned Bane into a lackey instead of being the mastermind, I think.
So the most
I agree with
recent
that.
telling of like the Ra's al Ghul storyline that I've at least been watching, not that it's recent. My wife and I over the past few months have been watching the Arrowverse, and they go into that storyline in Arrow. And we actually have to go back into it and finish. We went really far into all the shows. Arrow being the darkest one and closest to things you'd see in Batman for the most part. But I was surprised that they actually went into that storyline and went into the more magical side of it that exists. Because Ra's al Ghul is supposed to be, well, there's many race, they basically live forever for the most part. They got the pool of I forget what it's called, whatever that gives them long life.
They did that in Gotham too.
Did they do
Yes.
that? I didn't finish Gotham. I only went a little ways in.
I think it was season 3. They brought in the actor that plays Dr. Bashir in Deep Space Nine, Alexander Siddig. They brought him in to play was it Ra's al Ghul or Ra's al Ghul? Ra's al
Yes.
Ghul or something.
Ra's al Ghul. Yeah, one and the same.
And yeah, it was a very interesting storyline. They actually brought Talia in, but she was, but they let her kind of get away at the end of because she was in the final season, and I was just like, oh, they should have arrested her, at least resolved that, because she was doing a lot of damage. So oh well.
Yeah,
I like stuff that resolves some way.
Yeah,
we covered everything.
Yeah, we made it all the way to Batman.
I think one reason, another reason why the Nolan trilogy for Batman is so good is because, like we were talking about earlier, it's respectful of the stuff that came forward. It didn't try something outlandish, which the Suicide Squad, Jared Leto. It was different, but I don't think it was respectful or faithful to. I don't know. There might be some comics that it did follow closely. I don't know. It didn't feel that to me on the outside, and I didn't watch the movie anyway, but I don't know.
The thing I like the most about the Christopher Nolan trilogy is that it's not so much a trilogy about Batman, it's about a world with Batman in it.
Which is why I was saying that Gotham is a character. The city, it's the battle for Gotham's soul. That is part that the movie is just the city and what happens in it, and Batman happens to be the main protagonist in that city.
Yep.
Chicago and Pittsburgh. Yep. That's Gotham. That's Nolan. That's Nolan Gotham. So I would have preferred, I actually would have preferred the older, Gotham, the first two, Batman and Batman Returns, give it more of that comic booky look, that more noirish look of Gotham City, instead of it making it look like Chicago, or just making it look just like, making it look real. But yeah, I love the narrative is impeccable. Like, it's the best narrative of all the Batman stuff. I agree.
Yeah.
My favorite? No, I actually prefer the two Michael Keaton, the two Tim Burton.
The Tim Burton stuff. Yeah.
But that's just me. That's just my opinion.
Mhm.
The nice thing is that both versions can exist in the
Yes.
world and be accepted.
Yes, I totally agree with that.
You know?
So, are you guys looking forward to the Batman with Robert Pattinson?
If it ever comes out, yeah.
Based on Robert Pattinson in Tenet, yes. I thought he was amazing in Tenet. And I don't even know if Nerdport, if you remember that he was in that.
Oh yeah, he was
but
and he had the hair. He had the best hair
Yeah.
in the movie.
yeah, and he did so good in that movie. I didn't even realize it was the Twilight guy until like halfway through the movie, just because
Yeah, I mean-
he did so well in that
I
movie.
mean, I feel like seeing that movie, and maybe if he just maybe worked out a little bit more, I mean, he's playing Batman, so I'm sure he did.
Yeah.
But yeah, he could pull off Bond. I think he could pull off James Bond. I mean, he's got the look. He's got the he's tall enough, and he sounds like Bond, and he's English. So
Yeah.
I think he could be the next Bond. That's just me.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah. I'm not super excited for it because I'm not super huge into superhero movies in general. I'll watch them passively. Like the MCU stuff, I kind of just watched once it was online. But I'll definitely give it a shot with the new Batman because
That's
I'll
it.
check it out.
I like Marvel, but I've always leaned more towards DC for the darker tones. It's something about it that I get more interested in it. Even their animated stuff. You look at some of the DC animated stuff. I tell my son all the time. I'm like, if there's one you're interested in seeing, tell me first. Don't just go watch it because just because it's a cartoon doesn't mean this is for kids. These things get brutal. Like the Killing Joke. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I've
they made that R rated. So
Yeah.
But yeah, what was I gonna say? like Marvel stuff. I did not know about Marvel stuff until there's because I grew up in the early '90s and stuff. There was an arcade game called Captain America and the Avengers, and I played that. That's how I first heard of Captain America and Iron Man and what's his name, Hawkeye. Hawkeye with the purple outfit and the arrow and what's his name? White or Silver Vision. I forget what White Vision or something. It was those four characters, and then of course there was the Spider-Man, the animated Spider-Man show in like '94, the X-Men animated show. So that's pretty much the extent of Marvel that I was aware of. But it was really Batman. Batman's is really what I grew up with from a very young age till to now. So that I really saw in the theaters. I mean, he's not. I mean, would you consider Batman a superhero? Maybe. I mean, he doesn't have superpowers, but he's got abilities. He's intelligent. He's
have you heard the argument for Batman that Batman is Omega level given prep time? Like Batman could defeat anyone given enough prep time. Have you heard that argument before?
Yeah, and it's something they've dove into a couple times in especially Justice League oriented things. He has, when you look into some of the lore and everything, Batman basically has files on every member of the Justice League and has a method of defeating them, or at least slowing them down if he has to.
So not just a measure of defense.
And it's one of those things where in certain versions of the story where other members find out that he has this information, it's like, how do they handle this? They like, do they trust him anymore? Things like that. But every time I've seen that take place, I'm like, can you blame him? He's just a guy. He's just some dude.
Yeah, he's
who
a
had
mortal
money
that happens to be alongside gods.
Yeah,
basically,
It's like, what is he
and
gonna
Wonder
do
Woman and Superman. Yeah, just seeing him try to fight Superman and Batman versus Superman, just like I was like, oh, you're screwed. Holy crap!
Yeah, he has to have a method of taking care of these things, and he's aware of people's weaknesses. He's not just not just kryptonite for Superman, but the fact that magic can hurt Superman, the fact that there's different levels of beings that have the ability to hurt him. He's fully aware of these things and has
Yeah.
it all documented and ready to go if need be. And I love that that's always kind of in his back pocket because you can bring out certain elements of that at any time and write it in and make it work well.
Mm-hmm.
And like DC and even Marvel has been reborn so many times and will continue to be. We've seen I've seen and read so many different versions of Superman's origin, and I've accepted pretty much all of it because I'm like, all right, it's written well. This is a fun story. I mean, there's even a version out there where Kal-El crash landed in Russia.
Oh yeah, I've heard
and
about that.
and he grew up in Russia. And
Soviet Union.
it's like, what a fascinating story. There's, even though it's technically not a Superman film, did you see Brightburn?
I did.
Oh,
That-
Brightburn.
That was a borderline horror movie.
Yeah, it practically is. You hit the midway point and they flip a switch, and all of a sudden it's like gore factor 11.
Yeah, like the anything with eyes, I just like I wince. And anytime there's violence against eyes, it's just ugh.
But it's one of those takes on the idea of Superman where what if when he was found not by Martha and Jonathan Kent, someone who ended up developing him and understanding what they need to do and take care of him. What if the people that found him have no idea what to do and they're trying but failing? What does he become? And then we basically get evil Superman.
Yeah, Paul says something interesting here. Batman has always been grounded. He's human. He's the thinking person superhero. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Superman can get old quick if there's no limit to someone's power. You know, that can, if it's not portrayed correctly, can get old really quick. And Batman is a human. It's how we would approach those scenarios. So there's a relatability there that there's not necessarily with Aquaman or Thor or whatever. So that's interesting. What are your guys' thoughts on the new Spider-Man?
The one that's about to come out?
Yeah.
I'm very excited for it. It's I love the Spider-Verse and the fact that now like that animated one that came out with Miles
Into
Morales.
The Spider-Verse?
Into the Spider-Verse. I loved it.
Amazing
that
movie.
Actually may be, in just general thinking of filmmaking, might actually be the best Spider-Man movie.
I agree.
Even better than Spider-Man 2?
Spider-Man 2 set the bar by like I'll always love
creativity. It's not even close.
Yeah. But now that and especially since we're gonna get Doc Ock back and everything, like the possibilities are endless. Like I want to see Spider-Gwen. I just want to see them go all out with this.
Yeah.
What about Spider-Pig?
Spider-Pig.
I didn't even know what Spider-Pig was until I saw the Simpsons movie. Yeah. I realized Spider-Pig was a real thing.
Yeah.
It was amazing. But it's one of those things that I love, that we have all these different versions of Spider. Again, these things can be reborn, and as audiences, we accept them. Jumping back to earlier in the stream, talking about how fandoms handle things like Star Wars versus Lord of the Rings and so on and so forth, right? Star Wars is something that, as fans, we generally won't accept it being reborn.
Right.
But because the precedent's been set with comic books that you can redo and reboot an origin over and over every few years, we're used to it. So now we have Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, we have Andrew Garfield Spider-Man, and now we have Tom Holland.
Yeah.
And we've just accepted it. There's no one's been like, how dare you recast Spider-Man? You know, it's okay, here's our next Spider-Man. But the fact that they're now all coming together, it's beautiful. I think it's going to be done well.
Yeah, and I think that the multiverse is a great explanation for Marvel because those comics have had so many iterations and so many variations. call it Earth 617 or whatever. You just call it a different world, and if they mingle or if a world ends, it doesn't matter because we have our world and this is just the multiverse. And that's a really good explanation for that. I don't want the multiverse in Star Wars. I do not. And we talked about this last time we were on stream. I think there should just be, if there's multiple timelines, there should be just two timelines. One little thing that's different. And those are the different variations of the Star Wars universe. Pick which one you like.
Isn't Visions in its own universe?
I would say it's just not canon.
Yeah, it's just like
it's just slightly different, kind of like the Marvel What If, but less exaggerated. I don't know. I haven't seen
like
Marvel
just a
What
special. Like it's like I don't even know. It's not connected
what
in
if,
any way.
What if?
Yeah.
It's the way I've seen Visions with the episodes that I've seen so far. It's like still based in the Star Wars universe, but just outside of it or alongside it. It's not like a completely different Star Wars that we're experiencing. It's just happens to not be perfectly connected with the Star Wars that we know so far. What was the episode that explained that? The Ninth Jedi, I think, demonstrated that perfectly. Did you watch Visions, Nerdpoil?
I did not.
You did,
but you can talk about it. I don't care about spoilers.
All right. At least like the Ninth Jedi, I would recommend checking out. It's pretty cool. But there's some things that are a little bit different in that episode, like the Kyber crystals. You don't have to bleed them to turn them red, that kind of stuff. It automatically changes the lightsaber color according to who's wielding it. So that's something that's not correctly. It's not correct in how it fits in with the Star Wars universe that we know so far in canon, but because it's non-canon, it doesn't really have an impact. There's no consequence to it. They can change a little detail like that and still have it be set in this time slot in the Star Wars universe. And I don't have a problem with it. It doesn't affect me negatively. So all that to say, I don't think multiverse is for Star Wars. I hope they don't do multiverse, but 2 timelines just to explain the sequel trilogy. And that's it. Other than that, Star Wars has to be a history because it's set in our world, our reality, just a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. So it needs to be grounded in that way. But for Marvel, I think and DC, it's a really good explanation.
I'm still waiting for a sequel trilogy.
Yeah.
The Disney, you mean the Disney stuff that they made? Yeah.
Yeah, we'll pass on that. Paul, I agree with there's a point where we don't need to keep seeing origin stories. And the thing I liked about how they handled Tom Holland's Spider-Man is that we got introduced to him already being Spider-Man, brought into the Avengers and everything, like kind of, we didn't go through the whole Peter Parker is just Peter Parker. We didn't see him get bit again. We didn't see him do all this. He was already Spider-Man, just trying to make his way and do this. And I like that they did that. And I think what happens is with certain things like superheroes, for example, Hollywood gets uncomfortable with just telling a next story. They always feel that they have to explain everything for the entire audience. It's like, you don't have to worry so much. Everyone's going to catch up and get the idea. The vast majority of the world knows who Peter Parker is and that he's Spider-Man and how it happened. We don't need Batman's origin over and over. We get it. We know what happened.
Why did you say that name?
Yeah.
Martha.
Martha.
Just coincidental that Martha Wayne and Martha Kent have the same first name.
Martha.
Yeah. It's so amazing. I don't know about you guys, but I want more Batfleck. I enjoy it.
I agree. I agree. He has the look and he has the size and the build of Bruce Wayne. Bruce Wayne's like 6'3", he's like 200 and something pounds, and he's just jacked, and and Ben Affleck has the look. He has the look.
And that was the thing too about how that was handled. We got aged Bruce Wayne. We got Bruce Wayne who's already been through all the Joker stuff, all the Riddler stuff. And they did it in such a great way where even when he's having a conversation with Alfred and he's just like, well, at least we're not dealing with exploding penguins. And it's like,
Yeah.
we all knew exactly what they were talking about.
Yeah.
Was there a story? Was there a story about penguin having exploding penguins? What was that?
Like he'd send like the little wind up penguin things to be bombs and stuff
were
like
there
that. But
were there penguin bombs in Batman Returns? I have to rewatch that.
yeah, I think they came out. I think they were in the movie. They're definitely in the animated series and in the comics. But even actually, maybe even back to there might have been even all the way back to Burgess Meredith playing the Penguin in the old 60s series.
Really?
One of my favorite Penguins. Burgess Meredith. Burgess Meredith. Yeah.
He's probably in this. Sorry, go ahead.
I think kind of what you were talking about is Batman, the Batfleck has been through the ringer. He's been already through all the origin and all the growing, and he's kind of set in his ways, and he's who he is. I think that's kind of what Paul is getting at. If I can pull up the comment again.
Yeah.
When he says a proper grown-up Spider-Man, like let's see like a weathered Spider-Man who's not just the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Like he saves the day, and that's what it is. And he's, let's say, I don't know, mid to late 30s, and he's kind of over it.
And we kind of got that in Spider-Verse, Into the Spider-Verse.
Yes. I was just going to say that. Yep.
Wasn't he an adult in the old 90s cartoon? Spider-Man cartoon. I think Peter Parker was an adult in that one.
Don't recall.
In one of the cartoons, he was an adult, and then they had that that later show where it was like drawn animation mixed with CG, and then he's back to being a teenager. But yeah, one of them he was an adult. I mean, a lot of the video games. I remember what was it? There was one featuring the Kingpin. I had it on Sega CD. And it was grown up Peter Parker. He was living with Mary Jane, and you know, he's been Spider-Man for a long time and has made enemies.
Did either of you guys go ahead, North Portland.
You guys played I haven't played it yet. Have you guys played the Spider-Man PlayStation game that came out a few years ago?
Love it. It's so good.
I've owned it, but I haven't taken it out of its wrapping. Like, I buy video games and I just forget to play them, or they just stack up, and I buy more games, and there's just no time. There's just no time to play. But I've heard like they use the same mechanic as like Arkham with the
fighting mechanics.
Yeah. So in Spider-Man's case, he got web slinging, whereas Batman has the what do you call it,
like the batarangs and stuff.
Yeah, batarangs and
yep. That game
that little gun that he shoots to pull himself up.
I never played the Arkham games, but my brother did, and I was always I loved those games.
Arkham Asylum is great. I mean, you get to hear like Mark Hamill 24/7 because he takes over the prison, so you get to hear him make jokes about Batman and everything. So while you're doing your mission, he's insulting you at the same time. So
yeah. Yep, and I thought that the detective aspect to it was really cool in those games. Like Batman is the detective as opposed to the crime fighter.
Yep.
Like I thought that was a really cool perspective that they took with those games. Did either of you guys see Shang-Chi?
No,
not yet. I do want to see it though.
I'll check it out. But...
Yeah, you know it is because I grew up loving Jackie Chan films and Jet Li and everything. And when I saw the trailer, I was like, that's the kind of feel it looked like it has. I'm like, okay, now that's right up my alley. I'm like, I don't know who any of these actors are, which actually is a good thing from my point of view. I love not having to equate the actor to something else. Just show me a character. Yep. And I know nothing about Shang-Chi. The same way I went into Guardians of the Galaxy, I had no idea who those characters were. I had never heard of them. It was brand new to me. And then now Guardians is one of my favorite movies.
I liked Guardians. I didn't love it. I don't know. I'm kind of the same way with Marvel in general. It's like, oh, this is fun. But that's like as far as it goes. Like, I know there's so much lore there in the comics and stuff, but the movies don't really excite me to look into it.
I like Doctor Strange
know.
the most because it felt like it was like the
Yes.
inception of Marvel. I was like, oh, this
Yeah.
is cool.
Yeah, and getting past the visual similarities to Inception, there's something different about Doctor Strange. It didn't take itself too seriously, and it didn't think of itself as a joke either. It was that perfect balance.
He had that giant cloud. Well, it wasn't a cloud. It was some giant cloud being or something that.
Oh, it was
I forget his name.
um,
Yeah, the one he's messing with at the end.
I've come to
Yeah.
bargain.
Yeah,
what's his
I'm
name?
trying to think of what he says.
Chat, help us out.
What's the name of that guy?
Dormammu.
Dormammu. Yes. I've come to bargain.
Yeah. I'm sure you guys have seen the Bully Maguire memes.
Yes,
God, I love them.
The one where Bully Maguire is bargaining with Dormammu is really funny.
Oh, I have not seen that. I
No,
will
I
be
haven't
finding
seen
that
it.
later.
Is that all you got?
I saw Bully Maguire fight Darth Maul in episode 1, and I saw Bully Maguire try to take the high ground, or Obi-Wan has the high ground. I saw that one too. So,
oh, so brilliant.
I'm gonna put some dirt in your eye. those are all so brilliant.
Yeah.
So Bully Maguire, that's all from Spider-Man 3, right? When he's like,
that was 3.
Venom, under the influence of Venom. Okay.
Yep.
Yep.
You can get lost for a few hours looking at Bully Maguire videos. That's for sure.
Yeah, you go down the YouTube rabbit hole right there.
All right. Paul says if you love Jackie Chan or Jet Li, you will be disappointed with Shang-Chi.
Really?
Interesting.
Ooh. So then the trailer was better than the film?
I'm not going to be expecting much when I see it. I'll be expecting to have a fun time, and I'll be okay if it does work out that way.
Oh, Jackie Chan! I saw the movie Police Story for the first time with Jackie Chan. I'm just looking at the stunts, just watching it. I just get mesmerized by the stunts that he freaking pulls. Like there's so many times where he could have freaking died. Like it's crazy.
Oh yeah,
like he literally slides down a live wire in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh,
there's
crazy.
one of which movie was it where he's end up on the water ski line, but except he's not on skis, he's just on his feet going through the water and pulled by the boat.
Rumble in the Bronx.
Was it in that one, or I think it might have been one of the follow-ups to that, but he did that with a shattered leg.
Ooh.
This was like the scene before the shot before they did that was him jumping from one rooftop onto a balcony and onto a fire escape, and he destroyed his leg. He put it into a cast and then filmed that scene water skiing on his feet. Like the man's insane.
That's disgusting.
But one of his most recent US films, I think it was called The Foreigner.
Mm-hmm.
It was like Jackie Chan meets First Blood. Like those two movies came together. It was, if you guys haven't seen it, check out that movie.
I wanted to. I didn't see it yet.
That was a good movie.
So people are harassing him, and instead of just shooting people, or he's using martial arts instead of doing what Stallone does.
But you know what it is? They have a whole sequence in that film where it feels like out in the woods with Rambo, and instead now it's Jackie Chan, and dude, it's so well done. You gotta check it out.
And you said this was a more recent.
This was a more recent film. It
was The Foreigner, yeah.
Yeah, The Foreigner. This was it might have been actually the last US based film that he did, because everything he's done since is all China based. Yeah.
You're highlighting something that doesn't happen in Shang-Chi. Chan and Lee did their own stunts in Shang-Chi. It's CGI. Yeah, I believe it. So it probably is lacking that realism. Speaking of real stunts and martial arts, have either of you guys seen any of the Ip Man movies?
Oh, love the Ip Man movies.
No, I haven't.
Those are good. With Donnie Yen.
Mm-hmm.
Those are really good movies. I haven't seen the most recent one
with Mike Tyson in it.
Was it with Mike Tyson?
Was it Ip Man 3 had Mike Tyson?
No, I saw 1, 2, and 3. I think there was a 4 and then a something else. I don't think I saw
Mhm.
either of those. Bruce Lee might be the one you were thinking of because I think in Ip Man 4 he comes over and trains Bruce Lee supposedly in
Oh,
America.
you know,
Bruce
yeah,
I
I
didn't
think
see
you're right.
that
I think
one.
that's the one. Yeah.
I didn't see that one, but 1, 2, and 3 were amazing
Mhm.
movies.
And outstanding martial arts in that film.
Okay, I'll definitely have to keep those in mind.
Yeah,
By the way, my Nerdporial banner, just to go off on a little side note, I have the Criterion Bruce Lee collection.
Nice.
So I actually tried to listen to the first movie he did in Hong Kong, which is called The Big Boss. It was released here as Fist of Fury. I tried listening to it in Mandarin. Wow, because I mean I listen to anime, I listen to subtitled anime in Japanese all the time. I tried listening to Mandarin. Mandarin is a really hard language to listen to. I don't know what it is. It's really rough on the ears. I don't know if it's just like the amount of it's a very forceful language. Like it's really pounds on the ears, when you hear it and stuff. But yeah, I got that collection, Enter the Dragon. If you haven't seen Enter the Dragon, it's one of the
Great
awesomest martial arts movies ever. It's a little bit too one-sided in my opinion, but it's the only gripe I have.
I have not seen
I
that.
have not
you
seen
gotta
that.
you have to see it. It's
Boot to the
Who's in
head.
that one?
Bruce Lee,
Okay.
and John Saxon and Jim Kelly.
Oh, okay. You're saying Enter the Dragon.
Yeah, Enter the Dragon.
I think he was just talking about whatever this one is. Green Lantern mentioned a boot to the head. I have not seen that.
Yeah.
I've seen Enter the Dragon.
Mhm.
But,
It's not a Bruce Lee film.
Yep,
There's Big Boss, Fist of Fury, Way of the Dragon. Way of the Dragon's the one where Bruce Lee fights Chuck Norris. And I came up with a horrible Chuck Norris joke after seeing that movie. What happens when Bruce Lee fights Chuck Norris? He doesn't live within the year, and he passed away in real life within the year. So yeah, that was horrible. I'll be quiet now.
Chuck Norris jokes are the best.
I have a T-shirt actually that's just covered in Chuck Norris jokes.
A buddy of mine came up with a very hilarious Chuck Norris joke. He says, Chuck Norris walks into a chemistry lab and he rips down the periodic table. You know why? Because he only believes in one element, the element of surprise.
That's so good.
You know when Chuck Norris jumps into water, he doesn't get wet. The water gets
Chuck Norris. Yeah, I heard that one too.
All right, we're going off on a tangent here that could literally go on forever.
Oh yeah. Any other movies that are coming out in the next year or whatever that you guys are excited for or horrified that are coming out?
I talked about on my stream yesterday. I talked about I'm going to see Bond. I'm going to see No Time to Die.
Yep.
I'm going to see Halloween. I'm going to see Halloween Kills, Dune, Ghostbusters, and Matrix.
Yeah. Ghostbusters
Paul-
is my
Paul's
most
so good.
anticipated. I can't wait to go see that.
I'm most anticipated for Dune. I'm hoping that Denis Villeneuve can make Dune as epic and as almost as epic as Lord of the Rings, as Peter Jackson did with Lord of the Rings. So, I mean, Dune's a much shorter book than Lord of the Rings. Lord of the Rings was split into 3 books, but 2 movies I think can handle all the story. Whereas I don't think the David Lynch movie kind of just did its own thing. So,
See, I don't know anything about Dune. I've heard a lot of talk about it in the last few
Star
days.
Wars the original Star Wars borrowed a lot of elements from Dune. I mean, just Tatooine in general and moisture evaporators, I think, and the Tusken Raiders were based off of stuff that was established in Dune.
Yeah.
It's definitely something I would like to look into and learn more about because it's it seems really interesting from what I've heard, but I don't.
Its book is
know
very
anything about it.
big on philosophy. The Frank Herbert was very interested. He wasn't a philosopher, but he was very interested in philosophy and psychology, and so that plays a big factor into Dune. So,
I'm sorry, I just read.
You're
I
laughing at
just
Green
read
Lantern.
Green Lantern's Chuck
Yeah,
Norris.
that's funny.
I've never heard that.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
You know what? Now at this point, tomorrow, like, just while my wife and I are doing work on the house, randomly, I'm just gonna bust out Chuck Norris jokes, and it's
Yeah.
gonna bug the hell out of her.
Yep. Chuck Norris once gave an uppercut to a horse, and its descendants are now known as giraffes.
Oh my god,
I've never heard that one. That's great.
it's unbelievable.
You know what's funny? There is like a book. There's like a category called Chuck Norris approved Chuck Norris jokes.
Oh man,
That's funny.
love it.
My grandma met him once because she's a real estate agent, and I think she showed him a property in California once. So my claim to fame is my grandma is so awesome. She met Chuck Norris and lived.
Nice. That's fantastic.
Oh, Chuck Norris. I have to research some more Chuck Norris jokes now.
I think my brother-in-law said he was kayaking up in Northern California once, and the guy he was kayaking with was like, "Oh yeah, that's one of Chuck Norris's houses." And then like later on, they were going down the river, and this guy came by, and my brother-in-law was like, "That's Chuck Norris. Hey Chuck," and he just like waved back and kept going. Like that's pretty funny to just see him in random places. That's like the videos you see of, who's John Wick? Why am I forgetting his name?
Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, just like in a subway, just like a normal person. Like we forget these people are like normal people for the most part.
Oh, my wife
some
and
people don't live like him, but
we insist that the world doesn't deserve Keanu Reeves. He's like just
yes, I agree.
Too nice of a guy.
Well, I don't know if I've read this. I don't know how true it is, but like he literally what did he do? He like paid, like he gave a lot of money. He paid for like the crew of the Matrix for, I forget what he did, but he did something like really super generous. Like gave them additional money or bought them all cars or I forget what he did. He did something crazy.
I think it was the pay scale, like it was way unbalanced, and he basically filled the gap and paid out people like out of his own pocket.
Interesting. Oh, okay, yeah.
I think that's what it is. I could be a little off with that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
Yeah, and he dealt with a lot of horrible stuff too, so he knows what it's like to lose something.
Yeah.
And be great and be grateful for what what he has and where he's at and stuff. So
wow,
I didn't know that.
Interesting. Right on. Well, we're coming up on the 3-hour mark, so we'll go ahead and wind it down.
Yeah.
Still gonna hope to catch the last couple Visions episodes before I go to bed. But I really appreciate you guys both popping on. It's been a fun stream.
Yeah, man.
And you guys are always welcome back on here. And
I've been sitting down for 4 hours. I was on Spock's stream earlier. He was doing Star Trek Online. And we're talking Trek. I can get lost in talking about Trek for hours and stuff.
Yeah. I got to get a more comfortable chair if I'm going to stream this long. Like Matt Cave's fancy light up chair. Like this is
the X Rocker.
This is not very nice.
Yeah, I'm sitting on a hardwood chair too. Like a true Klingon. Keep it rough. Keep it tough.
Nice. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate everyone that's viewing for stopping by and everyone that was watching earlier and entered the giveaway. Appreciate all you guys. And TTT Games and the Star Wars guys, you guys will be getting your mugs. Just let me know where I'm supposed to ship them to, and you will get those mustache mugs.
Mine's on my way. Mine's on my way already.
Sick, dude. Sweet. Yeah. Appreciate it. And again, I made the profit margin like 20 cents, as low as I could really make them on those mugs, because I'm more interested in you guys enjoying what I'm making, and I'm glad that you guys do, as opposed to me trying to make a couple bucks off of it. In the future, maybe I'll sell some merch to actually make some money, but I don't know. As of right now, I'm stoked that you guys enjoy the kind of stuff that I'm making, and I'm glad that you guys can be a part of it and just this whole community in general. And it's a lot of fun.
Exactly.
YouTube videos is fun.
It's a ton of fun.
Yeah. Well, Matt Cave, I hope to see you back soon from all your renovation stuff. 'Cause
Yeah.
I really enjoy your Resident Evil streams.
Yeah,
are
I have
fun.
to. I got the finale coming up, but I got to postpone it a few days. I
Yeah.
gotta get this
Which
stuff done.
which Resident Evil?
We're doing the HD remaster of the first one, so
Oh,
the
I-
one that
I-
was on GameCube.
That's the only one I've never played the original Resident Evil. I've only played that version of the original Resident Evil. I love it. It's probably that and Resident Evil 4 is tied for my favorite Resident Evil game.
Nice.
Yeah,
I did.
And then with two being close behind.
Well, if you want to check out the original, I did that first.
Yeah.
So what I'm doing with this trilogy is I'm playing the original, then the remake, original remake. I'm going to do that for 1, 2, and 3. So we got 6 games to play, and we're on number 2.
Yeah. Chris, don't die.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I told you though. I promised you the voice acting would be a little better in the remake.
Yeah, it has been so far. It's been really enjoyable, and I completely agree with your assessment that this is the way to do a remake. You add some supplemental lore and information and mechanics that make it more enjoyable, the stuff that you would expect, but you stay faithful to the original. And I really hope they do the same thing with KOTOR.
I totally
Really
agree.
hope, because
Can only hope.
it's such a good game.
Did you?
It's such a good game.
I covered the Nintendo Direct yesterday, and they announced the same people that reissued Jedi Outcast on the Switch have reissued, or they're going to reissue KOTOR in like
November
a month.
12th or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Aspire.
So I can't wait. Yeah, Aspire. Yeah. So I can't wait to. I hope they do KOTOR too. So I just want to listen to. I can listen to Craig's conversations like all day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm just still amazed that they're able to have the original KOTOR on mobile, on phones.
It plays so well.
It does.
I just can't. I just that was the reason that game and Halo Combat Evolved was the reason why I bought an Xbox back in the day. It's like it was like 300. It was like $350 to buy an Xbox at that point. So
I never had an original Xbox. I started out on PS2.
Oh, okay. PS2.
Yeah.
2000, 2001, I think. Yeah. So
Something
same generation.
Yep. Basically the same. Well, again, I really appreciate you guys for being here, and everyone in the chat. I appreciate you for getting here. If you've made it this far in the whole stream, I really appreciate your time. And thank you guys for joining me. And if you are not subscribed to the Matt Cave or the Nerd Royale Lifeform, please go subscribe to their channels. Go give them your support. It doesn't cost you anything to hit that subscribe button. And if you haven't already, delicately tap that like button, because I appreciate it and the YouTube algorithm appreciates it, or dislike it. It really makes no difference.
The algorithm
it might help
likes it either way.
It might help it. But for everyone that came and stopped by tonight, Paul, good night. What time is it in the UK? My goodness.
It's like 6 hours ahead.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Moly.
Anyway, thank you very much for spending your time here, and both of you guys, I appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
And I will see you all.
Thank you.
I will see you guys all wherever I happen to see you in the galaxy.